the Kakaaki, the African Voice, this Tuesday. How are Nigerian women also dealing with the lingering insecurity and economic crunch that affects households in the midst of all the political, people say shenanigans? How are these pressures shaping women's outlook, and what priorities will guide their choices as the election cycle approaches? Of course, conventions are all underway. Parties are gearing up. Are women within those rights? Are they speaking to it? Are they parts of those people making the decision to be able to position the party squarely for inclusion? The question begs for answers. Well, joining us to put these questions and other matters arising in perspective is a leading Nigerian female politician figure, Honorable Gini Kator, who is also a strong advocate for the rights and emancipation of women in Nigeria. And she'll be bringing us to speed what's happening in the party. She's also a chieftain of the All Progressive Congress. How are they gearing up for conversation? Beyond the special seats, what are women doing to get into this space for the next election, 2027? Remember that you, of course, can be part of the program, sending your views and comments to all our social media handles. There's a lot of them. Of course, we have the Facebook, the X, Instagram, and YouTube at Africa Independent, so you can stay up to date with the latest news from around the world. But in the meantime, let's start from around the world by going to the news desk for the world news on Kakaaki. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to the World News on Kakaaki, the African Voice. Now, Iran has warned that it would target energy infrastructure across the Middle East if its own facilities are attacked by the United States and Israel. Well, Israel, the threat followed escalating rhetoric over control of the Strait of Hormuz, a key global oil route. I will bring you that insights in a subsequent bulletin, but still on Donald Trump. Donald Trump says the United States and Iran are working towards a deal, citing major points of agreement after recent talks with further discussions expected. Now, he disclosed that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner held discussions with Iranian counterparts focused on a framework that includes Tehran abandoning nuclear weapons. Iran, however, denied any negotiations took place, dismissing Trump's claims as misleading. The remarks come amidst escalating tensions, with Trump threatening strikes if Iran fails to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, while Tehran warns of retaliation targeting regional infrastructure. The United Kingdom dismissed claims that Iran possesses missiles capable of reaching London, contradicting assertions made by Israeli officials. Now, a senior government minister stated there was no intelligence assessment supporting such a threat.
The statement followed reports that Iran had attempted to strike a joint US-UK military base in Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. One missile reportedly failed while another was intercepted before reaching its target. Israeli authorities had suggested Iran was developing long-range missile capabilities capable of striking parts of Europe. British officials, however, maintained that current intelligence does not indicate such capabilities or intent towards the UK. Experts noted that while missile range can be extended under certain conditions, long-distance accuracy and defensive systems limit their effectiveness. Analysts also questioned the strategic value of such attacks, given strong air defense networks. The UK emphasized its ability to defend national territory and overseas assets, highlighting ongoing military operations in the Middle East. British forces have also intercepted drones linked to Iranian activity since the conflict escalated. The disagreements reflect broader tensions over the scope of Iran's military capabilities and the risk of further escalation. The situation remains fluid as global powers assess potential threats arising from the expanding regional war.
Now to China, where China's top diplomat Wang Yi met with Jonathan Powell, British Prime Minister's national security advisor in Beijing, and the two sides exchanged views on the situation in Iran, the Ukrainian crisis, and other issues. Now, Wang, a member of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee and director of the Office of the Central Commission for Foreign Affairs, introduced China's objective and impartial position, stating that the spillover effects of the situation in Iran have expanded and the prolonged war will only bring more damage and serious after effects. Now, for Wang, all parties should jointly bring the issue back to the track of political settlement through dialogue and negotiation, noting that the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's successful and historic visit to China in January was positively received in both countries and by international community. Wang said both sides should implement the consensus reached by the leaders of the two countries, carry out exchanges at all levels, deepen cooperation in various fields, effectively manage differences, and promote the consistent and forward development of China-Britain relations on his part. Powell said that the British side is willing to work with China to implement jointly develop a long-term and consistent comprehensive strategic partnership. Operations have been halted at New York's LaGuardia Airport following the death of two pilots after a collision between a passenger aircraft and an emergency vehicle disrupted activity late Sunday night. Now, authorities issued an immediate ground stop warning that the suspension of flights could extend as emergency crews responded to the situation.
The aircraft involved belonged to Air Canada and had just arrived from Montreal when the incident occurred on the runway. Reports indicate the plane has slowed significantly after landing when it struck a firefighting vehicle deployed for a separate emergency. The aircraft, identified as CRJ-900 model, was carrying about 70 passengers along with crew members at the time of the collision. The impact caused substantial damage to the plane, raising concerns among emergency responders assessing the scene. Initial reports from the local media confirmed that several individuals sustained injuries following the crash involving the aircraft and the ground vehicle. Emergency response teams were quickly deployed while police and fire services secured the area and began managing the aftermath. Footage circulating online showed the aircraft coming to a stop with its nose titled upward, highlighting the severity of the impact. Officials from the airport's governing authority confirmed that the plane struck a rescue and firefighting vehicle operated by the Port Authority during an active response. The Federal Aviation Administration enforced a ground stop as investigations began, while the National Transportation Safety Board dispatched a team to determine the cause of the incident. Authorities also advised the public to avoid the airport area due to road closures, traffic delays, and ongoing emergency operations.
Story there, but back here in Nigeria, in Zamfara State precisely, political activities have reached a fever pitch as the All Progressive Congress prepares to formally receive Governor Dauda Lawal following his recent defection from the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Stakeholders led by former Governor and Senator Abdulaziz Yari recently met in Talata Mafara to harmonize party structures. They reassured members that Lawal is a strategic homecoming that will unify the state's political leadership.
In Zamfara, it has been a season of strategic consolidation. From Gusau to Talata Mafara, party leaders have held a series of high-level meetings aimed at ensuring seamless integrations of the governor and his supporters into the APC fold. The formal reception scheduled for Tuesday in Gusau is expected to be a major event presided over by Vice President Kashim Shettima. State APC Chairman Tukur Danfulani Mekatako has mobilized ward and local government executives, stressing that the party is now more united than ever to deliver on its mandate. Governor Lawan cited the lingering internal crisis within the PDP as a primary reason for his exit, stating that aligning with the center is essential in tackling Zamfara's security challenges. APC stakeholders believe that aligning with President Bola Tinubu's administration will accelerate federal interventions and infrastructural development across the state.
And we call all the party stakeholders from the ward level to local government and state and brief them with the development. Then we know they have seen so many things in social media, but that's not enough. It's politics we're talking about. So, and each and every politics is local. So we localize ourselves to come back here where we are and then talk to our people that this are the development and we need their support. And that's why we're here.
With the political landscape in Zamfara shifting to the APC, the ruling party now controls 31 states nationwide. Damina Yusuf, AIT News, Talata Marfara.
Still on political news, this time the Progressives Governors Forum of the All Progressive Congress, APC, has resolved to retain the party's current national leadership, really not any move to rezone key positions. Now, the decision was reached on Monday after a meeting of governors on the platform of the APC in Lagos State. Chairman of the forum and Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, who briefed journalists after the meeting, said the governors agreed that there was no justification for altering the party's leadership structure while President Bola Ahmed Tinubu remains in office. The communique issued at the end of the meeting, signed by Uzodinma, says it celebrated on national development, the responsibilities of state leadership and the role of progressive governors in translating federal reforms into tangible benefits for citizens. The governors reaffirmed their commitment to democratic stability, principled governance, and the renewed hope agenda of the Tinubu administration. Still on conventions this time, the chairman of the National Caretaker Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Abdurrahman Mohammed, says the party is stable and united ahead of its crucial national convention scheduled for March 29 and 30, speaking at the party's 107th National Executive Committee NEC meeting on Monday. He emphasized that recent internal processes and reconciliatory efforts have strengthened the PDP structure and restored confidence among members at a pivotal moment for the opposition party. Mohammed highlighted the successful conduct of state and zonal congresses nationwide, describing them as largely peaceful and reflective of democratic values. On the upcoming convention, the chairman explained that it will shape the party's future direction. He praised the planning committee for its organization and momentum, singling out Okezie Ikpeazu for leadership within the convention process. On the issue of zoning, the PDP Board of Trustees Chairman Senator Mao Ohabunwang urged members of the National Executive Committee to approach the recommendations of the Zoning Committee with an open mind, guided by equity, justice, and the overriding interest of unity within the party, emphasizing that while no arrangement may be perfect, the strength of the PDP lies in its collective willingness to accommodate diverse interests for the greater good. He also noted that the party stands at a critical moment that demands wisdom, restraint, and a deep sense of responsibility. Now, could emerge in Nigeria's landscape with the official registration of the Nigerian Democratic Congress? Key question. The party's registration was announced over the weekend with Senator Seriaki Dixon, the lawmaker representing the Bayelsa West Senatorial District, named as its interim leader. Now, analysts are quick to point out the registration of the party coincided with a meeting between the last two remaining PDP governors in Nigeria, and that is Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State and his Oyo State counterpart, Sheyi Makinde. That meeting was also attended by Senator Seriaki Dixon. The launch and the registration of the NDC now raises fresh questions about shifting alliances ahead of the future elections and its potential impact on established parties. Now, AIT's John Paul Madaki has more.
There is the All Progressive Congress, the People's Democratic Party, the African Democratic Congress, as well as others. And now, the newest kid on the block, the Nigerian Democratic Congress, or NDC.
NDC! Service to the people!
The announcement of its registration caught many by surprise. So, what do we know about the NDC? In truth, not much. The full roster of its leadership and membership has not yet been publicly detailed, but political observers say the party may attract defectors from existing parties who are dissatisfied with internal processes or leadership disputes. But here's what we do know for a fact. The NDC was registered by Senator Seriaki Dixon, the lawmaker representing the Bayelsa West Senatorial District. Until its registration, Senator Dixon was a member of the People's Democratic Party. And over the weekend, Senator Dixon attended a meeting with the two remaining PDP governors, Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State and Seyi Makinde of Oyo State. The coincidence of both events is causing analysts to put 2 and 2 together to get 4. Could 3 of the major remaining PDP stalwarts be getting ready to ditch the party? It's not a far-fetched question, because new parties in Nigeria often emerge during periods of political realignment, and the NDC could follow that pattern, either as a standalone challenger or as a bargaining bloc in coalition politics. So, who could the potential members be? Well, for one, we could see an emerging coalition of reformed-minded politicians, then possible defectors from major parties, as well as technocrats and youth-focused advocates. The big question now, what role can the NDC realistically play? First, it may fragment the opposition vote if it draws support away from the PDP, potentially weakening its electoral strength in key races. Second, it could serve as a pressure point, forcing the PDP to reform internally, particularly on candidate selection, party discipline, and youth inclusion. And third, in this scenario where no single party dominates, the NDC could become a strategic coalition partner, given its influence beyond its size. Much will depend on the NDC's ability to build grassroots structures, articulate a clear ideology, and distinguish itself in the crowded political field. As Nigeria's political terrain continues to evolve, all eyes will be on whether the Nigerian Democratic Congress becomes a disruptive force or simply another name in the long list of emerging parties. Madaki John Paul, AIT News, Abuja.
The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission has announced plans to arraign former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai alongside 2 other individuals over multiple allegations bordering on corruption, fraud and money laundering. According to an official statement issued on Monday, the anti-graft agency disclosed that El-Rufai and one Joel Adoga will be arraigned before the Federal High Court Kaduna Judicial Division on Tuesday, March 24, 2026.
The case, filed under suit FHC/KD/73/2016, includes charges ranging from alleged conversion and possession of public property to money laundering offenses. In a parallel development, the ICPC confirmed that a separate charge has been instituted against El-Rufai and another individual, Amadou Sule, before a Kaduna State High Court. The case marks KDH/KAD/ICPC/01/26 involves allegation of abuse of office, fraud, intent to commit fraud, and conferring undue advantage. The Commission noted that both charges were formally filed on March 18, 2026, and that El-Rufai has been duly served in accordance with legal procedures. While arraignment date for the State High Court case is yet to be announced, the ICPC emphasized that proceedings will follow due judicial processes as determined by the court. Reaffirming its institutional stance, the Commission stated that it remains committed to upholding due process and the rule of law in all its procedural actions. The development marks a significant moment in Nigeria's ongoing anti-corruption efforts, particularly involving high-profile public office holders. Ebuwa Omo Osaigi, AIT News, Abuja.
Now, former acting accountant general of the Federation, Anamikwe Nwaboko, has been sentenced to 72 years imprisonment for money laundering by a federal high court in Abuja. Now, the trial judge, James Omotosho, while delivering the judgment, held that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission proved this case against Nwaboko.
Nwaboko, who was arraigned on an amended 9-count charge bordering on money laundering and fraud to the tune of 868.4 million naira, was convicted on all 9 counts and sentenced to 8 years imprisonment on each count, amounting to a cumulative 72 years. The court, however, ordered that the sentences run concurrently. The trial judge described Nwaoboku's diversion of funds meant for security and defense while serving as a director of finance and accounts at the Ministry of Defense as appalling. The judge also commended the EFCC for what he described as a meticulous prosecution of the case, noting that testimony of the 9th prosecution witness that Nwaoboku voluntarily refunded over 200 million naira during the investigation was not challenged by the defense. In the charge that was filed in 2024, the anti-graft agency accused Nwaoboku of conspiring with several companies to convert funds suspected to be proceeds of unlawful activities. The alleged offense, according to the EFCC, contravenes Section 18 of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011 as amended by Act No. 1 of 2012 and is punishable under Section 15, Subsection 3 of the Act. The commission said Nwaoboku committed the offences while serving as the Director of Finance and Accounts in the Ministry of Defense between 2019 and 2021. The former acting Accountant General had filed a no-case submission which was dismissed by the court in November 2025. He was appointed acting Accountant General of the Federation on May 20, 2022 by the then President Muhammadu Buhari following the suspension of Ahmed Idris over alleged 80 billion naira fraud. Nwaoboku was, however, removed from the position in July 2022, barely weeks after assuming office, following reports that he was under EFCC investigation.
Business coming up next.
Key business. I am Landry Babalola. The head of the International Energy Agency, IEA, has warned that the world is facing a worse energy crisis than the twin oil shocks of the 1970s and the fallout of the Ukraine war combined. Speaking at a media event in Australia on Monday, IEA Executive Director Faith Birol said effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz, an attack on energy facilities, has reduced global oil supplies by 11 million barrels per day, more than double the combined shortfalls of the 1970s crisis. It said liquefied natural gas LNG suppliers had been reduced by about 140 billion cubic meters compared with a shortfall of 758 centimeters in the aftermath of the Ukraine invasion. At least 40 energy facilities across the 9 countries have also severely damaged in the conflict, the IEA chief said. Birol also expressed concerns that the scale of the crisis had previously not been fully understood, explaining his decisions to speak publicly about the situation last week for the first time. Wall Street futures jumped more than 2% on Monday, reversing losses after Donald Trump said he would order the military to postpone strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure following productive conversation with Tehran. Global markets staged a sharp recovery after the U.S. president's comments, with Euro Stoxx 600 and precious metals turning positive, while oil prices fell, marking a significant improvement in risk appetite. Market had been trading lower after Iran's statement that it would attack Israel power plants and plans supplying U.S. bases in the Gulf if Trump carried out his threat to obliterate Iran's power network. Early in the day, Dow E- were 1,140 points. S&P 500 E- rose 154.75 points, and Nasdaq 100 E- added 571.75 points. The Central Bank of England Volatility Index fell after hitting its highest level in 2 weeks earlier and was last down 3.99 points at 22.79. Wall Street main indexes also logged their fourth week of declines on Friday, with the Nasdaq posting its biggest weekly drop since early February. And Japanese companies have agreed to raise wages by more than 5% for a third consecutive year, according to early results from annual labor talk showed on Monday. Rengo, Japan's largest labor union umbrella group with 7 million members, said its preliminary tally showed an average wage increase of 5.26% for this year. That compared with last year's initial reading of 5.46%, which was later revised down in stages to a final 5.25%, still the biggest pay rise in 34 years. Rengo's member union is seeking an average hike of 5.94%, slightly below last year's demand of 6.09%. Many major companies, including Toyota Motors, Hitachi, and NEC, concluded their negotiation last week and agreed to meet union demand in full, offering large pay increases for another year as competition for workers remains intense. European natural gas futures rose more than 4% to above €61 per month on Monday, extending last week's gains as escalating threats to Middle Eastern energy facilities heightened fears of depot supply disruption. Meanwhile, global LNG exports fell to a 6-month low, underscoring tightening supply conditions. Shipments dropped roughly 20% to 1.1% tons, driven mainly by declines from Qatar, and to a lesser extent, the UAE European gas prices have now nearly doubled from pre-war levels, surging more than 90% so far this month. And gold fell as much as 8% to $4,100 per ounce on Monday, hitting its weakest level in 4 months as the ongoing Middle East conflict intensified inflation fears, while major economies face pressure to boost liquidity, including through gold sales to offset the war impact. Last week, gold dropped over 10% as surging oil prices fueled inflation concerns, prompting markets to price in a prolonged pause or potential rate increase from major central banks. Traders are increasingly betting on a possible Federal Reserve rate increase towards year-end amid fears of persistent inflation. The ECB, Bank of England, and Bank of Japan also kept rates unchanged last week, but signaled readiness to tighten policy further if inflationary pressure persists. Google, Amazon, Apple, and Samsung smart TVs and virtual assistants should fall under the EU's toughest tech rules because of their growing market power, the world's largest broadcaster told EU antitrust chief Teresa Ribera on Monday. The call by the Association of Commercial Television and Video on Demand Service in Europe, ACT, underscores the battle between broadcasters and big tech for market shares in a lucrative industry. Citing data from a 2025 market study, the broadcaster said Android TV, Amazon Fire OS, and Samsung Tizen OS should be designated as gatekeeper under the EU Digital Market Act. The lobbying group said their big tech rivals may have incentives to retain end users within their own ecosystem and to contractually or technically restrict linking or redirection. And away from the foreign scene in Nigeria, Nigeria is the continent's largest investor in AI-driven surveillance, accounting for over $470 million of the $2.1 billion spent by 11 African countries, according to a March 2026 report by Institute of Development Studies. The spending is concentrated on facial recognition and automatic number plate recognition system, with Nigeria deploying around 10,000 smart cameras, also the highest on the list. Across the country, studies, most surveillance infrastructure is supplied by Chinese firms and financed through soft loans, while other contributors include South Korea, Russia, the UAE, and Western nations. Despite the scale of investment, the report finds little evidence that expanded surveillance has significantly reduced crime or improved prosecutions. It also flagged weak legal frameworks, calling for stricter laws and independent monitoring to prevent abuse and build public trust. And Nigeria earned $31.54 billion from crude oil exports in 2025, down 14.4% from $36.85 billion in 2024. This is according to central bank data, despite higher production. The decline contributed to a narrower current account surplus of $14.04 billion as inconsistent output missed OPEC quotas and operational disruption limited revenue gains. However, the broader oil and gas export segment grew to $48.17 billion, driven by a 21% rise in gas exports and the emergence of refined petroleum products, supported by increased domestic refining capacity, including output from the Dangote refinery. Rising imports and higher external outflows continue to pressure the balance of payment, which fell to a $4.23 billion surplus, even as foreign reserve improved to $45.75 billion. And that's it on Kakaaki Business. I am Landry Babalola. Good morning.
Well, indeed, and thank you, Larry, for that report on business. And talking about business of presentation, we're not doing this alone today. I do have Mr. Onka right here by my side who the wind waltzing. Good morning.
Good morning. The wind bringing me in with good tidings, you know.
Absolutely.
Of my presence.
Absolutely. We can feel it already.
Good morning to you. And,
good morning.
You know, it's great to be here this morning and starting off, the day with Kakaaki as well.
Indeed. And talking about business of the day, I mean, going from where Lanre stopped, the agri sector, of course, in Nigeria and the European Union just signed a Eurobond of over 85 million euro. And I think it also looks at fund part of the gate for the European Union, broader global strategy, gateway strategy, and aimed at strengthening partnership with Nigeria and African countries and promoting sustainable growth and income. So within the agribusiness sector, of course, the Nigerian Minister of State, National Planning, Department of International Partnership, and amongst others like this, Stefanuson, signed the agreement. And hopefully we want to see this mean more than just, signature on paper. But let's see what Sadia Dosumu has to say, because she did, and she was right there when this happened, and she brings us this report.
The 85 million euros agreement between the European Investment Bank, EIB, Global and the Bank of Industry, BOI, aims to transform Nigeria's agricultural sector. The funding will support private sector companies, cooperatives and MSMEs across key agricultural value chains with a focus on cocoa and dairy production. The project aligns with Nigeria's development objectives of sustainable agriculture and financial inclusion, which ensures compliance with environmental and social standards.
This financing is provided under the Human Development Accelerator Program, an initiative backed by the European Commission and implemented by the European Investment Bank in partnership with the Gates Foundation. We're also very happy to announce another important financing agreement with the Bank of Industry for the development of agricultural value chains in Nigeria.
This announcement is more than a commitment of resources. It is a reaffirmation of our shared vision for a stronger, more resilient, and more prosperous future. It reflects our collective determination to move from dialogue to delivery.
This initiative is part of EU's global gateway strategy, aiming to mobilize up to 300 billion euros in investments. The support also targeted different priority areas critical to Nigeria's development agenda, like health and digital sector, as well as support for migration.
Digital, health and agriculture stand out in this respect as we join forces to improve standards, infrastructure, local manufacturing and inclusion. Today, we are also committing to stronger cooperation on sustainable migration, and more support is already becoming available in this area, enhancing governance and providing better life options to voluntary returnees.
Meanwhile, European Commission Vice President, who is in Nigeria for the 8th Nigeria-EU Ministerial Dialogue, met with Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga. The meeting is part of ongoing efforts to strengthen Nigeria-EU relations, focus on trade, security, governance, and sustainable development. Callas, who is also the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, has been engaging with key African leaders to enhance cooperation.
Our cooperation is not only tactical, it's also strategic. Earlier this year, we launched the first EU-Nigeria Peace, Security and Defense Dialogue, and this is how we turn our partnership into action.
Nigeria is determined to translate today's commitments into tangible outcomes that improve lives, strengthen democracy, and secure a sustainable future for generations to come.
The EIB has invested 2.3 billion euros in Nigeria since 1978, supporting transformative projects in sustainable urban transport. Sadiat Dosumu, AIT News.
Welcome back from that report by our colleague there, and hopefully the agri sector will continue to see transformation, and those monies signed and gotten will be put into very good use as well.
Indeed, and it just tells us more about the European Union and Nigerian partnership, and I think that the EU being one of the largest trading partner for Nigeria, and that's according to having over a quarter of its total estimates and trade with focus on diversifying beyond oil. And what that also seems to look look at is that in looking at beyond oil, they're looking at areas such as manufacturing, agriculture, and technology, chooks. The partnership, which is one of the things that have been discussed, is just between the cap of the 290 million euros Gateway Global Program, where we just saw the 85 million euros signed for the agri sector, does tell us that, they're looking at adventures within, I call it adventure because then it's yet to happen. Hopefully we see it happen in energy, digital technology and infrastructure alongside 200 plus European companies creating over 130,000 jobs in Nigeria. But again, what I would hope to see more is, visibility in some of the conversations from just plans on paper to activation, and some of the key trade sectors such as, the supply of oil and agricultural products to the EU while importing manufactured goods and technology. Again, we're also looking at the fact that trade challenges and opportunities, persist. But how does this also look at the issue of AFTA as well? Because on one hand, I see the importance, I understand the pathway this creates between Nigerian, and European trade investments. But again, how does it also open doors, for many African countries trying to get into Africa, collaborate, and, perhaps pushing forward the possibilities of what AFTA, African Free Trade Agreement, also, positions. So I'm looking forward to that. Beyond just the regional integration and what this would do for Nigeria, we want to see what the recent developments so far from the signing and this agreement will bring to the fore. And I think that's what a lot of Nigerians will want to see.
Yes, we want to see an improved sector. There's been, complaints of not enough support for those in the agri, sector, equipment, materials they need, especially when you look at the food crisis, that's going on in different, parts, and Africa is not also, left out of it. Nigeria as well is not left out of it because we're seeing issues with farmers, go in different parts of the country. So how do we turn things around? Equipment readily available for them, fertilizers, different material, grants or loans. Which one will be best to help push and support, local, farming as well. All of this come together to make sure that the economy, is strong and grows. Because if you do not have a country that is well fed, you have problems. You run into problems as well. And if you can just support your local production as well, you run into problems at the end of the day. And how do we also not let these farmers be, like the words, priced out of the market? Because if you're going to also be flooding the markets with international products, what happens? Locally made, products from these farmers. We've seen policies try to support them, boost everything internally. How do we also connect the entirety of Africa better? Just like they have in the EU, you have, out there in different continents. How do we connect Africa as well when it comes to trade and all of that? So these are very, very important things to move the continent forward, and countries like Nigeria and the rest.
Yes, and for me, I also want to see how they also expand their demography, especially with the young people, young entrepreneurs, looking at, startups, fintechs, and research participation. I think for me, one of the things that I know that they had conversations around is the Euro Horizon, which focuses on fintech and young people. But how we need to see that signing into new opportunities for, new tech organizations run by young people also gives us room for more participation at the local level. And I keep saying domesticate these things. We know that some of the pathways come from the national gateway. How do we also domesticate this to be activated at the local level where the population of young people are much more, diverse? So again, the Nigerian EU agreement admission, perhaps, well, we need to also see the issue of labor mobility, because you have over 200 already or something Euro companies already participating in trade in Nigeria. How does that benefit Nigeria? How does it also benefit the workforce in Nigeria? What are the labor agreements to make sure that in as much as we're looking at that trade investment partnership, we're not also locking out a major population of young Nigerians who could participate in that? Are there exchange programs, the comparison analysis on what the economics of this is for Nigeria? And this is one of the key points points for a lot of, economic critics. But it is a major investment, and I'm hopeful that for Nigeria, it leans into other, investments as well, just as we saw the signing within the United Kingdom and Nigeria, of course, on the rail and other business agreement on the 749 trillion or so billion.
Yeah, it's very interesting when it comes to the tech aspect of, things.
Absolutely.
Because I think at this point in time, Nigeria cannot really be ignored, because we're seeing a whole lot of young Nigerians, building startups that are getting fundings, seeds, angel investors from the US, the UK, and the likes. And not long ago, I was reading up about some companies here in Nigeria as well who got angel investors, about 3 of them thereabouts. So that space is really growing, and I think it can, thrive more with such collaborations internationally, making sure that these businesses are not strangled, especially at the growing stage. You have different policies that takes out, especially if you remember what happened with the Bitcoin, in the past, governments rejecting it, and now it looks like, they're trying to, warm up, to it. So these are issues that needs to be sorted out. So how do we get everybody to grow from the initial stage and not just, choke them out, and they cannot achieve their potentials as well. But in that sector, Nigeria really cannot be ignored at the moment.
Indeed, and the EU is also backing the multinational security stakeholders force as well. One of the things I do know is that they're also looking at how that pathway could incorporate, the economic community of West African states and the dilemmas that happen to West African countries, talking about insecurity as well. Of course, we're a bordering nation and we cannot lift that out of the conversation. But in the meantime, let's bring you our social intervention segment, and that's what's up next.
To Get Fit in 60 Seconds with Jolly Phillips. Now, everyone has 60 seconds in every day to spare. So if you're ready, let's go! Hello, my alphas. Again, we're going to be working on the maths today. We have 2 workouts. The tiger crunch, touch those ankles, yes, and send it out. Tiger crunch and a bird dog. Are we ready? Your time starts now. Come on, tiger crunch. At 30 seconds, we're going to move to the other side. All right? I will certainly let you know. Touch those ankles and extend. Make sure the hand that's supporting you is firm on the floor. How many seconds do we have left? We have 10 more seconds here. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Good, 30 seconds. Switch, ankle, extend. Very good. Make your body as long as a pencil. You might be shaking all over the place. That's fine. Just stay with it. Stay the course. Come on. We're working abs here. We're working back here. We're working your core muscles. All those stability muscles in play. Keep going. We have 7 seconds left. Come on. That tick, tick, tick's coming. And time. Super job. Well done. Well done! I hope you had a great workout. Anyway, what I need you to do is to follow us on Instagram at Alpha Fitness Studios and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Alpha Fitness Studios, for free workout videos, free dance videos, sales and promos, and make sure you join us at the gym, Alpha Fitness Studios in Lekki Phase 1 next time you're in Lagos. So until the next time, bye-bye.
Hello, great people of Nigeria. Welcome to the Leadership Clinic. Today, I'll be speaking on bringing out the best in people around you. The truth of the matter is that those leaders that you see today that have built critical followership, that built outstanding respect in communities, those leaders that people follow respectfully. They are individuals who have done something that is very outstanding, something that is very amazing. They have learned the secret of investing. Flipping becomes interesting.
Have you ever wondered why your child should not start school too early? It worries me that parents send their babies and toddlers to school. With the parents, it is necessary result of shoehorning them into schools at an age when they might not be ready. All children develop differently, and you should respect that fact. In the interest of children's academic achievements and their emotional well-being, children may need more time to develop before their formal education begins. But the question is, how then do I know that the time is right for my child to start school? Funny enough, children always give clues that they're ready to begin reading, and that's what they basically learn in school. You can watch out for what I call the pre-reading skills, and they are: 1. Noticing that your child is motivated or excited to read. 2. When your child is drawn to print and colors. 3. When your child recognizes or can identify a letter or two. 4. When your child can make coherent sounds that virtually everyone understands. So why rush your child into school at an early age? If your child is not emotionally ready, you would be putting your child under undue mental stress. Honestly, that's my 2 kobo.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
Where is the law? National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
So people put people in poverty deliberately, deliberate misplacement of priorities, and brought people on their knees to suffer.
Welcome back to Kakaaki, the African Voice on Africa Independent Television. And it's 7 a.m. It's time for us to take a look at what the papers are saying this morning. Myself and Adora will not be doing this alone because we have Dr. Austin Mao joining us this morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Great to have you again.
Yeah, thank you.
And also we have Alhaji Majid Dahiru as well joining us this morning. Good morning.
We're here. Good morning.
Yes, they'll be helping us, analyze all of the trending issues on the papers this morning.
All right, let's begin with the Nigerian pilot as our first paper this morning, and it says insecurity bomb blast hit Niger, Kwara, and then riders saying terrorist bomb Niger bridge, kill 8 persons, severe international trade route, and that's on page 8 of the Nigerian pilot this morning.
And now to Al Jazeera, Nigeria, we have many fear dead as explosion rocks Kwara community. Bandits bomb bridge connecting Niger communities. That's it for Al Jazeera, Nigeria.
And Niger, terrorists fleeing ongoing military operations behind bridge bombing, and that's leadership leading this morning, not selling quite well there. And it says there 8 killed after vehicle hit ID planted by bandits on bridge linking Niger State communities, and that's on page 4.
Now to the New Telegraph, we have spike in terrorist attacks. There's lapse in intel gathering, analysis, AVM Adesonya there, as retired generals identify causes, prefer solutions. And that's the long read on the New Telegraph.
All right, let's look at the Daily Monitor this morning, and it says something different. Geopolitical says you are starting a fight you can't win. Wike wants Makinde cautions PDP members ahead of party's national convention to demonstrate loyalty or risk being sidelined, and that's the rider to that story.
All right, now to the Daily Global, which also, leads into the PDP crisis. PDP crisis, you started fight you couldn't win. Wike slams Makinde, and that's it for the Daily Global.
Let's look at the Authority newspaper there. It says ICPC arraigns El Rufai in Kaduna today, and that's their lead story. And you also see that bottom page story there. World Cup, some sports story, Nigeria to appeal FIFA's decision on protest against DR Congo on page 11.
All right, now to the Standard Times, we have ICPC to arraign El Rufai in 2 Kaduna courts today. That starts on the front page, continues on page 3 of the Standard Times.
And from there, we move to Nigerian News Direct. If you can see that on your screen, we say, and article demands release of El Rufai, kicks against detaining political opponents. And that's what you see on page 1 of the Nigerian News Direct. You also see other story there. IGP decorates newly promoted officers on page 1 as well of the Nigerian News Direct.
All right, now to this Nigeria. 868 million naira fraud. How ex-accountant general got 72-year jail term. Judge, in quote here, he diverted defense funds into personal investments, laundered public money through proxy accounts. That's it for this Nigeria.
And Daily Sun is rising this morning with some APC story. Says APC retains zoning formula, and that's what you see as the lead story there. Yedwada Masari admit challenges and seats convention will hold as planned. Also, Dema Obori Okowa rally south for APC in Asaba, and that is their, of course, riding story there amongst other stories.
And now to the Observer Times, we have CBN named Global Central Bank of the Year, honored for reforming the economy and stabilizing the Naira. That's it for the Observer Times.
And let's move to the Daily Assets. And Daily Assets says here, federal government approves education sector grants, scholarships, UTME reform, 65 exceptional students benefit 50 million naira venture capital each. JAMB introduces new test engine, extends mock duration, and that's on page 2. You also see there other stories there. Shetima names Fintiri Adamawa APC leader, and that's on page 24 of the newspapers there, especially on the front page of the Daily Assets. Now, let's look at the lead stories this morning, and I think I'll start with you, Elijah, especially when we're thinking about insecurity and what's happened in Niger State and in Kwara State, and that's what's leading this morning. How do you look at that?
That corridor has become a very dangerous one in Nigeria. It's like the terrorists are moving down south from the northwest, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, and Katsina axis. They're moving down towards the south through that corridor, the Daija, Kwara, and parts of Kogi corridor. And they are becoming even more daring. Now, with the report we got yesterday that a bridge has been blown off, it is deliberate on the part of the terrorists because they do not want to help to come to those communities from the Nigerian authorities. So I would have expected that by this morning, the Nigerian authorities would have mobilized security personnel into those communities to prevent what is likely to follow this action. Already, we are reading from some newspaper headlines that they have imposed a 150 million tax on the people. And when you don't have access to these communities, the atrocities and mayhem that these guys are likely to commit will go on unchecked. So it's important for the federal authorities now, if they are aware of this, to send in security personnel into those communities. Either you're going to drop them by air, however you want to do it, you should be able to go in now and dislodge these people and occupy those communities and prevent what is likely going to be a massacre of these people for refusing to pay or unable to pay these taxes. You know, as we've always warned, this so-called, this nonsense called non-kinetic approach to insecurity in Nigeria is largely responsible for this emboldening of terrorists. And we have always pointed out on this program that these people will go beyond just abducting people to going for the Nigerian state itself. Its people and its resources. And this is an indication towards that direction. There's no such thing as non-kinetic approach to insecurity. It does not exist anywhere in the world. Match good governance with military action. Simple. Any non-kinetic thing you want to do is good governance by the political authorities. Provide effort for the people, create an economy that absorbs people into meaningful jobs and career growth. No corruption, just do the right thing as political leaders on one hand. But as the military, your role at all times is to go after the enemies of the state and the people, both domestic and foreign. This attitude of talking to bandits and negotiating with bandits and exchanging things we do not know has resulted into this nonsense we are seeing today. So it's not multiplying. And the more we continue on this path, a day will come that will no longer be able to negotiate with one bandit, because you know why? They will no longer be willing to negotiate with you because they don't have the upper hand. So what are they negotiating with you for? We are getting there. I keep warning that this situation happened in Sudan. This situation happened in Sudan. The RSF of Sudan you see today, fighting with the armed forces of Sudan to take over the state, started as a militia group, the Janjaweed militiamen, that were accused of committing genocide in Western Darfur. It started like this. But because they shared the same ethnicity with the rulers of Sudan, they were Arabs from Chad, just like the Arabs in Sudan, northern part of Sudan. So Omar al-Bashir pampered them, supported them to commit genocide in his own country against people that are non-Arabs in Western Darfur. And so they became so emboldened that they demanded now to be in the army, into the armed forces of Sudan. And the man foolishly incorporated the Janjaweed militiamen into the armed forces in a special unit called the RSF, the Rapid Support Force, and gave their leader a primary 3 dropout. He gave Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, he gave him the rank of Brigadier General, automatic, and named him my protector because of their ethnic affiliation. But guess what? These guys only became embodied and ambitious. So they also that we cannot rule Sudan now. And so when there was a breakout of protests in Sudan over hardship, because Southern Sudan went away with their oil. Southern Sudan went away with their oil, the bulk of the oil of Sudan. So there was hardship in Sudan, and there was protest against the government of Omar al-Bashir. The RSF got that opportunity to now lead Sudan itself. So they connived with the armed forces to ease out the man that called them his protector. As we speak, Omar al-Bashir is still in prison, while the RSF is now fighting the armed forces led by Burhan. By the way, it was General Al-Fatah Burhan that trained Hamdan Dagalo and his militiamen at the instance of Omar al-Bashir in 1988. He was the one, as a colonel that was deployed to train these guys to help exterminate the non-Arab population of Western Darfur. Okay. Today, this group have become so emboldened that they are fighting. The war is ongoing now. It's just that the war individually is sometimes obscure other crises in the world.
Absolutely.
These people are fighting to take over the state. Imagine Nigeria in the mode of Northern Sudan today.
And you did write an article that Sudan happened to Nigeria.
Yes.
You know, some months ago. And Dr. Maho, let me bring you in here because, you know, he said something really key. That it's no longer just the attack, you know, on Nigerians and communities, now the attack on Nigerian state. The New Telegraph took this from a different angle. It says, spike in terrorist attack, there's lapse in intel gathering. Analysis, AVM Adesanya. Another writer did say, aim is to deprive military access to hideout. That's what the source said. But the increase in the use of IEDs is also becoming very alarming.
Very alarming, I must say. And equally alarming is the parallel that Mujid has drawn with, consistently, not the first time, drawn between what is happening in Nigeria and what is happening or what happened in Sudan. So if you have military planners, forward-looking military strategists they should know that, look, we are not immune from what happened in Sudan because of the parallel. You expect that a stone, in our local parable, we say a stone that you see cannot blind your eyes. But why government has chosen this approach of non-kinetic, when obviously you need to be able to use kinetic power to bring about sanity and bring these terrorists to their knees, is what baffles me. It's not as if the government itself doesn't have the information they need to be able to curtail and deal with this problem at its root. A former top military general in this country, when he granted an interview, I think over the weekend, he made some startling revelation. I mean, you may not even say they are startling. That information has always been there. He said pointedly that government knows or have the list of those that are sponsoring terrorism in the country. So what else do you want to say? And when he said he cannot be giving you the name, that government has the list. So the question is, why is government unable to act and bring those sponsoring terrorism, to face the law of the land? So when you look at government inability or unwillingness to act and compare it to add it to the fact that government itself has the list of those who are perpetrating this crime against the state, you are short of words. You don't know what to say. Because when you look at what is happening in Kwara, it's foretold, it's expected. Government itself will tell you that, oh, it is because, and they have used this excuse consistently. They will tell you that, oh, it's because they are facing a lot of heat in
climate change,
in Maiduguri, in Zamfara, in Katsina. That's why they are running downwards. You understand? That's the excuse they will give you, consistently give you. And they will not tell you that it is because they are winning the war on terrorism.
That they are blowing bridges and killing people.
So the terrorists are on the run. So that is why this is happening. And mind you, that same community, Woro community, in Kwara State, December last year, that same community was attacked and about 75 people were killed in that same community. And I remember then that Mr. President gave a marching order that the army should go and take over the community. The same way he gave a marching order before he went to the UK to his chief who traveled with him when a bomb blast, same IED and suicide bombers detonated explosive in Maiduguri, 3 locations in Maiduguri that killed about 23 people. I hate sounding like a broken record. You don't use the same approach to address a problem and expect a different solution. And like Moji said, it calls for worry. When you give terrorists the leverage to be eating, or you've given them so much leverage that they begin to feel invisible, a time will come, and it has already come. At times I don't say a time will come because you don't expect a systematic problem that has been there for the past 10 years and nothing concrete is being done to address it, that things are going to change. These guys are becoming more emboldened.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it is the state they are after. They will carve out part of this country for themselves. They will impose taxes like that report equally carried. Boldly tell you that, look, give us 150 million if you don't, and government cannot respond to it to protect its citizens against, such an onslaught from all angles. And you say we are still in a country, and you begin to ask yourself, what's the purpose of governance? Is it all about politics? Is it all about 2027? Nobody is looking at the fact that as a country, we are facing existential issues that we need to jump into the trench and deal with for the sake of future generation, for the sake of this country we call Nigeria. Is bewildering.
All right. There's been reports of, U.S. troops coming into the country. So how does this wane? Is this a sign from the terrorists that, oh, we are against this, these U.S. troops coming into the country.
They're not even aware of U.S. troops. They're not seeing.
They're oblivious.
They are conspiracy theorists. They're not aware. They're not feeling the heat. They're not concerned. They have a plan. The more you indulge them, the more they get emboldened. Each time these people collect ransom, they go and stockpile and restock their armament stockpile.
It's a no-brainer. When you give terrorists money, what do they do with it?
Because they have an ambition now.
We've seen a lot of photo op in the name of non-kinetic, right from the days of Masari as governor of Katsina State. Smiling with terrorists, well-armed terrorists, saying that you've gone into agreement with them. Immediately you go into when government say they go into agreement with terrorists not to attack communities again, what do you think happens? A lot of money exchange hands. They collect that money, what do you call it, other items from government, and they go and mobilize and start all over again.
And some other groups,
it's their way of life.
They didn't say to feel okay because I didn't commit enough hard work. He didn't call me. They go and strike again. So that's how it happens. That's how it works. So this method has failed over and over again. I have people telling us, people who tell that American negotiation terrorism, I said, on home soil, on American home soil.
Not domestic terrorists.
American negotiated Taliban. Let me tell you this today. The Taliban is an extremist Islamist group that wasn't a terrorist group. People forget this. But they harbored fellow Islamists known as Al-Qaeda that attacked America, 9/11. So America gave the ultimatum to give up your guests or face collective consequences. Insider sources suggested that the Taliban was on the verge of expelling Osama and his allies when America lost patience and invaded. So Taliban was the legitimate governing authority of Afghanistan because majority of the people in Afghanistan subscribed to the Islamist tendencies of Taliban. And Taliban has no foreign ambition. So when America went into the country and dislodged the Taliban government, but realized that the people actually have sentiments for these people, they simply now discussed with Taliban and extracted the commitment from Taliban that, look, on no condition should we ever harbor our enemies in this country again. And Taliban abided by that till today. In the entire crisis going on in the Middle East, have you seen Taliban's hand in there? Have you heard Taliban pronounce death to America or death to Israel? Have you seen any incident in America that is traced to Taliban? That is why even ISIS has denounced Taliban as infidels. And Taliban has denounced ISIS as terrorists. Because they feel that these guys are not using Afghanistan as a base to terrorize the West to American interests. That was as far as America went. If you bomb American home soil, nobody negotiates with you. Nobody.
Now, let's move on a little bit. Still on the insecurity, though, but looking at the new telegraph that reads, spike in terrorist attacks, there's lapse in intel gathering, analysis, AVM at Desoya. This is, a slight on the military, debt on the military for having this issue of intel.
They lack adequate intelligence gathering. Let us face it. I heard the chief of defense staff telling people in Borno to speak out. Sometimes you wonder why we still adopt an anachronistic, archaic method of security in this country. For example, I live in a community. I cannot know who's a criminal in my community. Because the person did write on his forehead, I am a criminal, I am a terrorist, I'm Boko. He didn't do so. There are people that are trained to come in, track, infiltrate, and extract information. That is the job of the CDS and these people. And his compatriots in the other, his comrade at arms at other services. That is, you come in, that's why a policeman, for instance, a trained policeman, will come to your own community where you live, and you come there and fish out a drug dealer, a cannabis smoker, because he's trained to smell. He's trained, that is his training. I don't have such training. If America and Israel can infiltrate the Iranian system, and track down the ruler of Iran for extermination. We not endorse violence here. And Iran on its own can sit in Tehran and fire missiles accurately at targets in Tel Aviv, accurately, thousands of miles away, accurately. They will tell you about to target your infrastructure on gas and energy, and they will do it. You need to land it there, or at best you can intercept it. They are not telling me as a Nigerian citizen, whose only duty to the state is to be law-abiding and not to be a terrorist. That's the only duty. I don't owe you information. You have to extract it. You have to have people in Boko Haram that are at your payroll. You have to have people among the bandits that are on your payroll. You have to have people within the ranks of criminals that are on your payroll that's going to tell you the movement of terror, to say, look, we are trying to attack your place so that you can come and ambush us the way they ambush our armed forces.
Do you think it is a lack of access to intel, or the access to intel with no political will to act?
It's a combination of all.
I think for me, it's a combination of all. But that is why I made reference earlier on to a former high-ranking, somebody in the Nigerian military who said, I don't just want to call his name, who said that, look, government has this information at their disposal. Even Gumi himself, that we at times criticize here, has come out to say, look, each time I go to the forest to meet with terrorists, it's with coordination with the Nigerian government. In fact, that they are the ones that lead the way for me to go into the forest. It means it's significant.
So government knows where they are.
That government knows where they are.
And they have the intel.
At times when you read press release from the Nigerian army, when they will now tell you that we killed XYZ terrorist. In fact, they will give you the profile of the terrorist. They'll give you his name. And they'll tell you that he has been on the Nigerian army wanted list for so and so time. His name is this. He's the one that carried out the attack here, there, and now he has been gone down. You understand? And when you read such information from them, it means significantly, they may not have all the information they need, but they have enough information that you expect them to be able to act on. But if you need more information, the information you already have, how well have you used it to bring about an end to this, crisis of insecurity we are facing in the country?
All right, let's look at another story this time, still on perhaps politics this time around. And Daily Sun says APC retains zoning formula. Yiwatada Masari admits challenges, insists convention will hold as planned. Uzodinma Buhari Okowa rally south for APC in Asaba. And another paper also looks at the story that also talks about 2027 election. Tinubu will be re-elected in spite of opposition. Uzodinma, and that's Daily Monitor. And other papers also talked about that. Maybe I'll start with you. Talk to us how you review this. I mean, in the spite of this conversation and insecurity and the spike of usages of IEDs, and then you also see the political angle where you're seeing, like he talked about, all what people are focused is on politics. How do you look at this emergence of the heightened conversation?
The conversation, all over the country, among politicians, even the wicked group with PDP, they equally made a statement yesterday. So there's heightened political activity across the country. The PDP, for instance, is holding its convention between 27th and 28th. So we are waiting the outcome of that. The question is, will there be reconciliation? Will they be able to put up a formidable front, a united house to confront the ruling party come 2027? Then there was equally a meeting between, strange bedfellows, I would say, Kwakwaso, Peter Obi, and who was the other one again? Kwakwaso, Peter Obi, and...
former Bayelsa governor.
Diri.
No, Dixon.
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 Yeah, Saraki Dixon.
Yeah, Dixon, former governor of Bayelsa.
Yeah, Sheyi Makinde as well.
And was Sheyi Makinde in that meeting?
Yes, he was. He was.
So you ask yourself, what are they trying to achieve? Do they want to build a coalition? How will it work? Which vehicle are they using? So there's a lot of political movement between now, horse trading, alignment and realignment among politicians. And it will continue between now and, towards the end of the year, or at least till September, when parties are expected to present their candidate for the 2027 election. And all is targeted towards upsetting, the momentum the APC is making towards the 2027 election. And don't rule out the fact that, to me, for the APC is not yet Uhuru. Immediately APC holds its convention and present its candidate, or begins to present its candidate for the 2027 election. There may be a lot of disgruntled people who may align themselves against, the ruling party, even within the ruling party itself. But however you look at it, the opposition is weak. APC has the momentum, and we expect that at the end of the day, the opposition may not really be able to muster, the numbers, the strength, the political goodwill.
I think that's what the governor of Imo State is saying, that despite opposition, Tinubu will be re-elected. I mean...
The momentum is for him.
Yeah, but also coming to 2027, I've seen a whole lot of comments about, the president and the campaign for 2027 not really being on a foundation of credible or great achievements. It's just been about, let him come do another 4 years, it's going to be better, not really stating what they've achieved, what they've turned around for the nation.
You are a Nigerian. I'm a Nigerian. If your life is better today than 3.5 years ago, you should be in the best position to judge. Definitely, you stated it quite clearly. That's what it is. Our reforms are not eating fruit, yet to eat fruits in the next generation. Support us, consolidate, blah, 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 we know. Now, why is the APC this comfortable? To be going to an election without any concrete achievement, but very comfortable. Again, lack of opposition. You see, over the weekend, we saw the coming together of Kwankwaso and Peter Obi. And Peter Obi tried to make some statements as usual about governance issues. He tried to put some... what about Peter Obi you can give to him at all times? You may not always agree with his viewpoints. I don't always agree with his viewpoints. But when Peter Obi goes for the political gathering, he tries to impute governance issues in the sloganeering, in what he talks about, which is quite good for developmental kind of politics. Politics is very good. There's no democracy without politicking. I was watching Kemi yesterday, Kemi Madenok, as usual. I'm a great fan. When she redefined the goal of the Conservative Party and briefly identified the ideology of other parties and said ours is better, and she gave clear-cut, bit by bit, alternatives to what they're going to do, and she said something very important. She said in the next couple of weeks, they will be going for council elections, and that whatever they're able to get during the council elections, they should use those council seats to demonstrate the ideals of the Conservative Party enough for people to see, and now vote them back into power. Excellent. We don't have this in Nigeria yet. But I hope that the opposition can quickly buckle up and now give a challenge, but as an opportunity. You see, when the government hasn't performed as much as it's supposed to have performed, it comes with an incumbency disadvantage going to an election. Incumbency disadvantage. But if the opposition is able to take advantage of that advantage, take advantage of that disadvantage to its advantage, then it becomes advantageous to the ruling party. So the focus now should be on the opposition to tell them, what are you offering differently? So that people can wake up and say, okay, we've seen an alternative, therefore we're ready to leave this abusive marriage. If you do not do that, I keep saying, Tinubu might go to the next election very unpopular, but emerge with a wide margin of vote, because people that would have voted against Tinubu will simply feel, who am I voting for? Who am I voting for? And sit down. At home. So his own people will go out and vote for him. Especially when, this is just a few months, right, to primary election. And the main opposition party, which is now the ADC, has not told us where they're going to in terms of direction.
Or policy.
Or policy. By 2013, as APC was being formed, we knew that ticket was going to the north to correct the mistake that the PDP made with Jonathan in 3 level. We knew. We also knew that Buhari was going to be the candidate. And if you give it to the APC, if you give it to them, they campaigned on issues, insecurity, corruption. So they brought a man that was an embodiment, as at the time.
Of all of that.
Of all of that. Somebody who is a soldier, going to defeat insecurity. He was incorruptible. So the guy ticked all the boxes. So himself was manifesto. So people had something to hold on to resist the PDP. As we speak, we don't know who's going to fly. There's no indication of who's going to fly the flag
of the ADC.
And where the flag bearer will come from. And let me again say this.
And PDP is nowhere. I mean, Wike to Makinde saying that you wanted money and I wanted power.
As long as PDP is under the control of Wike, as it is now,
yes,
the PDP is likely to endorse Tinubu for second term. Wike didn't hide his intention from the beginning. I'm committed to the southern presidency of Tinubu for 8 years. He has a right to do what he wants to do. I keep saying it. It is his decision. But for those who want to remove Tinubu, look towards the south and pick a credible candidate. I don't want to campaign for anybody, but if they look at what happened in Kano between Kwankwaso and Obi, I don't think anybody should tell the ADC now the direction to go in the next election. I don't think anybody should tell them.
But would that be strong enough in the next 11 months?
But you told them without telling them.
No, the direction should be clear. But at the end of the day, is it clear? You know, if you really, the opposition in Nigeria, are they in opposition to win or to sustain the status quo? Those are the fundamental questions. As it is, it seems as if the opposition is in opposition to sustain the status quo. That is what I see. Because there's no serious move to dislodge the incumbent from power. No serious move at all. Is it Atiku? Atiku cannot win an election in Nigeria. Is it Kwakwanso? Kwakwanso don't have that broad appeal to be able to win a national election.
Maybe he has realized it for 2027.
But is he ready to do the right thing? Is he ready to put his own ambition aside in order to support somebody who has that leverage, who has national appeal, to be able to upset you know, the ruling power from
at least hold Nigeria's line to one party state. You may not necessarily win the election, maybe, I don't know. But if you have a formidable opposition, it will save Nigeria this tragedy of being a 36 states, one party state.
36 states, 36 states, 32 under one umbrella.
And others are supporting the president. So it will save us. I think we go back to the semblance of a multi-party democracy. We have those in power, we build that pressure to deliver, knowing that we have rivals. It's when you don't have rivals, we don't have any challenger. There's no motivation to perform because we're very comfortable. So we need the opportunity to be alive to save our democracy and make it much more fruitful.
Well,
and like I always say, every election cycle has consequences. Whatever happened 2027 will face the consequences in the next
4 years. Okay, so just before we go, let's look at this story. I'm sure you also saw the 868 million naira fraud, how ex-accountant general got 72-year jail term, and that's this Nigeria brought that to us. Judge, he diverted defense funds into personal investments, laundered public money through proxy account. Wow.
As we are speaking now, more is happening.
Only 800 million.
For 72 years.
Only 800 million.
Only? You expected it to be more?
If you look at the history of corruption in Nigeria and prosecution of corruption cases in Nigeria, we give kudos to the EFCC.
No, you can't give kudos to the EFCC.
Yes,
yeah, but some will say they are higher profile in terms of corruption.
This is a very high profile case. A high profile individual, somebody at the level of a formal, just a few months.
A few months,
yes. In fact, he was on acting capacity. And he was able to perpetrate this.
He came prepared.
Also, doesn't it show that we probably have, issues of funds, being diverted in different areas when it comes to security arm, especially when you look at, I think it was last week, one of the papers was reading, there's been over $44 billion spent in the past 15 years to battle insecurity. So if we're having somebody just come in for a few months to have a pinch of those funds, now imagine, we said just, but it's not just so a lot of Nigerians, but then imagine what a lot of people who have been in the security arm, for years and years.
That's an unfortunate situation. There are even suggestions or some people, conspiracy theories that say, look, the extended war against insecurity in the country is because people are benefiting from it. And because people are benefiting from it, they want the status quo to remain. But however, I feel the job the EFCC had done in terms of bringing the prosecution of this man to conclusion, they should be commended, and it also serves as a warning to those who have dipped their hands into public coffers that, look, the FCC is watching you. And when the time comes, you may be fit.
No, there's a renewed vigor, really, on the part of the leadership of the FCC. If you look at the kind of people they are going after, for example, we've had this complaint over the years that we complain of refineries not working and money is spent without results. And then the FCC jumped into it. Right now, people have been investigated, some are undergoing prosecution. So the current leadership of the EFCC, for me, is fighting what is called an ethical war on corruption, unlike what we used to have when it was focused only on the opposition. Right now, the fear of the FCC, as I speak to you, is beginning of wisdom in government circles. Everybody's watching their back because the way these guys are going after suspected, including members of the cabinet, in fact, you may be surprised to hear this, regularly people in the government go to answer to the FCC for some, we don't understand. Yes, yes. Tinubu's appointees are invited regularly to say, come and explain certain things. If you cannot explain it, they will tell your boss. But where you're able to explain, okay. So they're not even exempting those ones too. So I think it's comprehensive so far.
All right, there's a feedback here. Someone says to us, for me, when a government adopts a particular option, this is insecurity, that evidence and all indication shows is not working among arrays of options, then that option is not out of conviction but convenience. And this amounts to either having certain elements being protected or the government demonstration of weakness. Simple.
And there's something to add to that. If you want me to do the tafsir of this verse that you have also read, it will take me the whole day to do. But the person just summarized what it is. It's convenience, it's protection, it's ethnic interest, which is not supposed to be. So Sabora Bashir made it clear, the leader of Mozambique. He said for the nation to rise and thrive, the tribe must die. Anybody in government must eschew ethnic, regional, religious sentiment to discharge your duty as an agent of the state, presiding over an agency of the state. It's a prerequisite. But when you have conflict of ethnicity, religion with your citizenship as a Nigerian, it's just into some kind of, state inertia, as we have seen. So we need to rise up because this thing is going to affect all of us. Again, back to Sudan. Those who stood by and thought that the militiamen that came from Chad, who shared Arab identity with them, were doing their bidding. Today, have their homes destroyed. They are running helter-skelter. They are dying in thousands and they was not even aware. Today. So it tells you at the end of the day, this thing will boil over and consume all of us, including those of you that think that there's any interest in this matter. So something needs to be done urgently before we end up in Sudan.
And the increase of IEDs is very frightening.
It's frightening. You think you're in Abuja, you're safe. If this thing continues, you think you'll be safe in Abuja.
Are we really safe in Abuja? You are aware of what happened in Abuja last week?
All right, I think that's a very solemn yet very dreadful place to leave it because it raises a lot of key questions, and I'm sure the security agencies are listening and watching, and of course the executive. There is much more war to be fought with finding intel than just boots on ground. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming this morning. And activating intel needs technology-assisted facilities as well, just as Majid has said earlier. But we will definitely be going straight to our first talking point this morning. We're just talking about war in Iran update, and that's what we told you earlier on. We will be joined by Dr. David Kuranga, but we'll take a quick break, and when we'll come back, the conversation will begin in earnest.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
I think that is the
National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
Some people put people in poverty deliberately, deliberate misplacement of priorities, and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of
the former president, what I know is that he has not turned his membership card.
He has not been attending your meeting.
Leave that to us to deal.
There's no shying away from the issues.
The system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
But thank you for staying with us, and we'll get straight into the meat of the matter. Dr. David Kuranga is joining us virtually. He's an international affairs and security scholar. Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Great. Let's get straight to, maybe first of all, get the update on this. How do you assess the current situation of the war on Iran? I mean, are we any closer to any end of this conflict when, of course, we saw when it
side.
The rationale, behind this war, to be honest, because President Donald Trump was talking about how they were planning a break, from the war, to, I guess, ease things and all. But Iran coming out to say, no, that's not true. Why do we have conflicting comments on that?
The war itself started with the state of Israel. It started in 2024 when Israel bombed the Iranian consulate, and it has continued till today. And the state of Israel started this phase of the war by killing the head of state of Iran. So Israel is in a position where it is taking the lead initiative in at least in the onset of the war. So the war has been being fought essentially in their interests. The president of the United States is trying to contain the situation. They, by treaty, are obligated to defend Israel. So when the Israeli prime minister indicated that he was going to launch an offensive attack, it inevitably led to a response by Iran, which the United States would be drawn in to defend Israel from any attacks from the state of Iran, both in a defensive position, which occurred during the 12-day war, and in this case, in an offensive position, attacking targets in the state of Iran to disable potential attacks on either U.S. bases in the region or the state of Israel itself.
All right, let's look at the presentation of, President Donald Trump has been accused of not even knowing what next, angle to take on this war. Inconsistent comments on the war in Iran and, of course, how the U.S. intends to go about it. Now, many also say that, his next move may not really work because he did not see Iran holding up any resistance or even retaliation in this regard. Do you think he's stuck at this moment, and perhaps all of this rhetorics about, taking a step back and negotiating peace may be another strategy to buy more time to re-strategize?
No, I don't think he favors a protracted conflict. I don't even think, based on his previous positions and his historical stance, that he favors this war altogether. I think he was put in a position where he was forced to defend the state of Israel that had an interest in engaging in this conflict because it allows them to be the dominant state in the region should they prevail. So what the president of the United States is doing is not necessarily in his own political interest. It comes at a time where he has economic issues at home. It comes at a time where he has unpopularity issues at home. It comes at a time where their oil reserves are at historic lows. So it is not an opportunistic moment for a war in his own interest at all. However, he with the lobby in the United States has a close interest with Israel, and by treaty are obligated to defend the state of Israel. So as an act of opportunity, the Israelis, knowing that the U.S. had their resources deployed in the region, I think took the initiative upon themselves to initiate a war, forcing the U.S. to defend it. Because the last thing the President of the United States wants is to be known as the president that didn't defend Israel in a conflict and got them in serious trouble. So he was kind of raked over the coals by the state of Israel and put back into a position where he was forced to defend it.
All right, just to add to that question, from my colleague, and you also mentioned Israel. Not long ago, saw reports about Israel complaining about the kind of materials, Iran has been using to fire into its space and all as well. Still comes to the fact that, along with the U.S. not expecting or anticipating that sort of reaction from Iran, was that the same thing for Israel? And do they even have ways, to go about or to maneuver this issue that they are currently faced with in terms of the reaction and retaliation, by Iran?
I don't think that they were aware of the capacity of the state of Iran to strike into their territory. They are now seeing new capabilities, new missile technologies that the state of Iran has. They are taking heavy there's a whole blackout on what's actually going on the ground, so it's unclear, but based on all indications, they are taking heavy incoming fire. A lot of infrastructure has been damaged, destabilized, and or ruined altogether. So yes, the state of Israel and their ability to intercept those missiles is declining as we speak, even though they are being supported by the United States. They're still able to intercept a lot of the incoming fire, but it isn't deterring the state of Iran's capacity to strike targets within their territory at will. In addition, there isn't enough interceptor capacity to protect oil installations owned by U.S. companies in the region, which are also under attack in other Gulf states. People are now noting that Iran is attacking other Gulf states. They are. But in particular, they're attacking Gulf states that have U.S. corporations have invested in. So they're attacking those installations that are that have U.S. corporate interest involved because they don't have the capacity to strike the United States as well. So they have struck those targets with impunity, as well as U.S. bases, with great success.
All right, now let's talk about what the American people think about this, because recent polls say there is a broad opposition to the military intervention in Iran. One of the polls did say that, suggests 60% of Americans are against the war. Some say the opposition is even higher. And what does this mean, to the American people? And where do they stand with this? And does this have any sort of inroads to help Trump to make the decision to either withdraw from the war or end the war?
Yes, he has. From the onset of this war, more than I'd say 75 to 80% of Americans were against this war. So he has no leeway. That poll that was put out by CBS is, I don't even know where they. It's far opposition to the war is far worse than that. And as the economic situation gets worse, inflation was already problematic. Gas prices have almost doubled. We're up from two something to almost $4 now. There's very little room, and as food prices continue, this is a very serious problem. On top of it, because of the gas, a lot of people don't understand. Oil and gas is not just with energy and transportation. It's also with food and drugs. Food, fertilizer, much of the world's fertilizer is made from natural gas. So if you can't get nitrogen, which is a product of natural gas, you're not going to have food. A lot of the food production is going to decline. Farmers rely on fertilizer to ensure a high production per hectare or per acre. Without the fertilizer inputs, they're going to produce less. If they produce less, there's going to be less food available globally. So there's going to be a global food crisis. In addition, a lot of the pharmaceuticals that people use are directly linked to the petrochemical industry. So in about 2 to 3 months, there's going to be a shortage of pharmaceuticals worldwide. There's no appetite for this in the developed world, the United States included. There's also no appetite to pay more money for the inputs that they are getting, which is everything's going to rise with the cost of transportation going up. So he knows this. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed, and it will close. It will be more because any ship that tries to traverse that corridor without the permission of the state of Iran will be sunk. They have the ability to do that, and there's literally nothing that anyone can do about it at this time. In order to prevent them from doing that, they're going to have to invade the state of Iran with ground forces and eradicate their ability to strike ships passing through that corridor. And that corridor is not a small corridor. We're talking about 4, 5, 6, 700 miles of ships passing right by it. It's a very long way. So they have a lot of time to take out a ship passing right by their waters. It's impossible for that's why ships who aren't permitted aren't going through there. They are allowing Indian vessels, they're allowing Chinese vessels. So there is some degree of supply going to that region of the world, but even that has slowed down drastically. And there's been a lot of damage to the existing oil installations in that region. So the industrial disruption is not something that the United States can afford to see. And the U.S. president understands this, So, he was drug into a war that I think if he had his way, he probably wouldn't want to be there. But because the state of Israel took the lead in it, he almost had no choice but to defend them. Because regardless of whether or not he stepped in, Israel was going to be attacked, and the U.S. would be drawn in. So I think I think a lot of people are missing that the Israeli prime minister initiated this conflict and forced the hand of the U.S. president to defend the state of Israel.
All right. Apart from the citizenry putting out polls, that they do not want to be involved in the war. Not long ago, we saw a military personnel as well, take it far in a press, conference room, screaming about not wanting to be part of the war. He also had to be removed by the police from the room, which affected, his arm. He got injured in the arm. If one personnel can do that, in public like that, does that also show there are also military personnel who probably have the same view as that individual?
Well, there was a high-profile resignation in the Trump administration. The anti-terror intelligence officer, who's also a former well-decorated military man, resigned. And he issued a public letter in his resignation that there was no immediate threat from the state of Iran on the United States itself. So there was no reason for the U.S. to support a war or engage in any offensive actions against the state of Iran. And he said he couldn't support the ongoing war in his resignation. So there is a lot of people in the Trump administration that are against the war in Iran. And the longer it continues, we may see more and more resignations like that. Remember, the president of the United States campaigned on an anti-war stance, that war is a last resort. So all the things that are ongoing now is actually antithetical to what he campaigned on. So a lot of his supporters are scratching their heads trying to figure out why exactly he's involved in this. In the 12-day war, the U.S. took a defensive stance, meaning that they did not strike the state of Iran in the 12-day war. All they did was use their resources to protect the state of Israel. It is possible that they may retreat to a stance like that again, where they'll defend the state of Israel from incoming fire, but not actually engage in offensive attacks. But they've already engaged in offensive attacks on Iran. And it does not appear that anything is letting up. The state of Iran has the ability to withstand a lot of incoming fire and casualties as well. If in the past war with Iraq, they lost almost 300,000 people. They're nowhere near that at this time.
Dr. Kakaaki, just before we let you go, I mean, in the words of the Swedish pop group ABBA, who said the winner takes it all and the loser standing small. I mean, do you think there are any winners at all in this war? I mean, people are dying, the economy is suffering for it. What do you make of this? Should it come to an end, really?
Yes, Iran will win the war, because as long as they survive and as long as they're able to impose their will on the Strait of Hormuz, they win. So Iran will end up being the winner, because the only way they lose is by not surviving and not being able to impose their will on the Strait of Hormuz. So the winners in this war is going to be the state of Iran and their backers.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Dr. David Karanga, International Affairs and Security Scholar. War in Iran update has been our focus this morning. Thank you for joining us, and do have yourself a lovely day.
Thank you.
All right. I think it's that time of the morning.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer, you know, to Kakaaki Social, and I'm sure there are a lot of you who have been waiting for that. But before we go for that, I like the question you asked him last. Is there really a winner? I mean, everybody's suffering for it. We're paying 1,300 plus for petrol.
1,400 I got yesterday.
1,400. Even the US is thinking of options, you know, for sources, energy sources. So it's affecting us. It's affecting everybody across the world.
Sure. And jobs are going to be lost. People are going to lay off more people, and there will be less purchasing power as the time comes on. Yeah. Well, it's time for us to let, of course, Rena Opusege come in, waltz and tell us what the netizens is saying. And I can see her doing the sachet right there in the front. We'll be right back.
Politics and Power brings context and clarity to issues and events in governance, democracy, and development. On People, Politics and Power, we feature people who shape the events and define the issues.
A lot of the agencies are still struggling with implementation of freedom of information.
The government should come. We need Nigeria to work.
We examine the interplay and interaction of politics with power and their impact on policies and the people.
It's about getting the system to deliver the kind of electoral outcome that people will be happy with.
People, Politics and Power with Imoni Amarere.
Will low-performing agencies be held to account? Or will the numbers fade after the headlines?
At 1 p.m. every Monday and Friday on AIT. The issues as they break. The multitude. The political figures. The state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy.
And our government seem to be incapable of protecting.
The scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go.
Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigue.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection.
I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe in godfatherism in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
Hello, everyone. Excellent morning to you. This is Kakaaki Social. I am Onosherena Obuz. Although I say I am boss, as Adara mentioned. Well, let's go to the streets of social media and see what's trending right there. We'll begin with reactions that are trailing the former Accountant General of the Federation. He was acting capacity, Amamikwe Nwabuko, that has been sentenced by a federal high court in Abuja to 72 years imprisonment for money laundering. 72 years. Well, the trial judge, James Omotosho, while delivering judgment, Parliament held that the EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, proved this case against him, and that's why he was handed that. He was arraigned on a 9-count amended charge bordering on money laundering and fraud to the tune of 868.4 million naira, and he was convicted on all 9 counts and sentenced to 8 years imprisonment on each count. So 8 years on each count times 9, that was what gave us 72 years. So the court, however, ordered that the sentences would run concurrently. So instead of 72 years, it means that what he would do is 8 years. It means that if he's serving year 1 for count A, in the process is also doing year 1 for 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 72 will be collapsed into 8 years. Now, the commission, that's EFCC, has said that he committed the offenses while serving as a director of finance and accountant in the Ministry of Defense between 2019 and 2021. He was appointed acting accountant general of the Federation on May 20, 2022 by the then president, that's Muhammadu Buhari, who has left us, and following the suspension of Ahmed Idris over alleged 80 billion naira fraud. Umar Boko was, however, removed from the position in July 2022, barely weeks after assuming office, following a report that he was under EFCC investigation. Let's see what you make of these 72 years as netizens found it. Toba Truth says, this is good. Okay, we'll start with Ambitious Ghana. Says, let's hope that this is the first of many. Congratulations on successfully prosecuting this case. Please go after others as well across all regions, so it is not seen as selective. At the end of the day, a thief is a thief, regardless of tribe. The tribe conversation was also here too, because he's from XYZ, that's why he's there. But this user says, regardless of any tribe, a thief is a thief any day, anytime. A. Adebanji says, if we are being honest, 95% of Nigerians who have held public office belong in jail. The country has been looted to its very core by those entrusted to lead it. Another user says, meanwhile, NNPC is yet to account for a missing 200+ trillion naira, such amount of the country's wealth, and Tinubu's administration just decided to forget such a financial fraud. Well, we cannot say that there is a forgiveness anywhere yet, but we see the work that the EFCC has put out there. In another story, we'll have that the former AGF as well, this one Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, who is also trending on the space of social media. We have former Vice President Atiku Abubakar that has weighed in on the ongoing anti-corruption crackdown involving top political figures in Nigeria. So this comes as the EFCC again, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, sealed properties belonging to the former AGF under Buhari as well, while the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, ICPC, moved to arraign former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai. Malami was asking men of the EFCC what court order they have to move to another property of his for raid. And then he spoke to the press after that session. We'll speak to him, the chaos outside there. Well, he gave them the go-ahead to see his house, what he says after, and then we have Atiku Abubakar, who visited him earlier.
The order here is not specific, giving you clear directives to come and mark my property. And then this matter is pending in court. Where is the order from the court that gave you permission? Are you coming here to embarrass me unnecessarily? Because I am in court with the EFCC, so you are inviting my position now to move nationwide and embarrass me. Well, then what is it? What is it about? Where is the order? Without an existing court order, when a matter is pending in court, you are coming all over my properties to embarrass me. That's the way it is done. Okay, go ahead, we meet in court.
A lot of people are coming around to show their solidarity, arising from the fact that they were of the view and opinion that the undertones associated with my detention in custody for over 99 days contrary to what is tolerated constitutionally of 48 hours without being charged to court, were indeed actions that are not only arbitrary, but then that now points to a direction of political intimidation. But the fact that among the people that paid a courtesy visit, a solidarity visit to my house, today, being the 23rd day of March 2026, where the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Wazir Adamawa Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and then the EFCC came over to invade my property, to invade my premises shortly thereafter, points to a clear possible calculation, possible conclusion that the matter, indeed the actions were politically motivated.
Members of your family. All what has happened to you may happen to any one of us here. What we have come to realize is that there is a deliberate and calculated attempt to force a one-party rule in this country. And we want to assure you that we will stand with you to make sure Nigeria remains a multi-party democracy and that Nigerians have the right to elect a government that they believe will represent them and at the same time also bring about unity and progress in this country. We shall therefore never, ever stand idle and watch this country transform into a one-party rule. We want to assure you that we will continue to support you and the rest who are committed to this philosophy. And we want to assure you also that even though we were not with you in detention, but we were with you in spirit, we were praying. And I think God has answered our prayers.
All right, so let's see how much of their prayers God will answer. Dr. Alaran says, bro, speaking of his rights to freedom, says he was unlawfully held for 99 days instead of the 48 hours, as it is written in the Constitution. Really? The same Constitution you threw under the bus when you were AGF, bro. Another thought also, Luwafemi Patriot says, what goes around comes around. This same man violated countless court orders while in office. This is a warning to Tinubu. One day, a president will come who won't respect Caesar anymore. Tinubu, his children and family members end up forfeiting what they are looting today. Are they looting anything? Luwafemi. Let's see another reaction. Bengagiwa says, how many court orders did you obey while in power as Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation? You never envisioned that this day will come when the questionnaire will be questioned. Reacting to Malami saying no court order for his property to be searched. Gimp says, laughing out loud, power is indeed transient. I remember how arrogant this dude was under Buhari. Today he has become a victim of what he did to others. So those are your thoughts right there, and the stories making the rounds on that. Idowu says, do they not have a court order to carry out this raid on his house? If not, then this is not officially from the EFCC. I can bet that. I hope the EFCC can investigate this raid on his house and punish those guys who came there. They are doing this deliberately just to whip the public sentiment in favor of the already said disgraced man. I mean, it took me forever to have a comment from the other side, and yesterday and this morning appears to be one of the days that this job is really difficult because you have to get everyone talking. Getting that was really hard. But yeah, let's move on to more stories. There are tensions in Abuja on Monday, which was just yesterday, as police arrested the factional leader of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, that's NURTW, Kolim Tajuddin Baruwa, after a dramatic takeover of the Secretariat in Abuja, the Union's National Secretariat. Baruwa and members of his faction maybe we'll call them faction, really, a union faction, had earlier stormed the facility, seizing control from the rival group led by Musiliu Akinsoya, that's MC Oluomo, and he, that's Barona, was banking on a said court judgment that makes him the authentic leader for years now. The FCT Police Command has also confirmed the arrest of 7 people, but the gunshots that were there, the FCT Police Command says they are not responsible for that. Let's take you back to yesterday, how that drama went down and what Bariwa had to say in reaction to this.
We don't hold anything like cutlass. God, we don't need this because we are critical trade unionists. We are coming here to resume to the office. It's almost 2 years. We have been went to the court. We take them to appeal court. We take them to the lower court. We want them in lower court. They take us to appeal court, we want them again. Then we now go after almost a year that we want appeal court, they don't respect the law. They say that they are above the law. I wish I know nobody above the law. Then we now went back again to another court again, to interpretation of this judgment for us. That's because we got judgment, people are adamant to vacate the office. And we don't want to take law by hand. But you know what it means in trade unionists? We maintain the peace. They wound 3 people. Then we saw a liar with gun, run with gun and matches.
Y2K says, but come to think of it, why do people disobey court orders? This is a bad precedent. The way things are going, someone has to believe that APC may not leave Villa if the loss this coming, of they lose this coming election. Another user as well, it says, the law strictly frowns at the use of thugs in enforcement of a court judgment. You can't go around committing criminal acts, beating up staff and vandalizing the property of a legal entity in the guise of enforcement of judgment because you want to be the president of the union. Another reaction to this is coming from Kunle Wiseman Ajayi. He says, MC Oluomo never contested in the NURTW presidential elections that produced Bariwa. It was Agbede who did and lost. How can you take a position you never vied for? The Tinubu regime wants to impose a fake president on NURTW. NLC must take a solid position. And yes, some more thought says these are very trivial issues that, as a president, especially your caucus, you address promptly without allowing unnecessarily infighting. But the president, in his characteristic manner, would allow it to degenerate. I still cannot understand his pattern of conflict resolution. Everything, Tinubu, I mean, how hard and how simple it is to be a leader. So our final story today, we're going to Abeokuta, where a court there has granted bail to a local government inspector with the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, in Abeokuta South. His name is Abbas Olalekon. He was arraigned on a 2-count charge of conspiracy and attempted procurement of abortion. The case follows the death of a female corps member, Victoria Ario, who reportedly passed after complications linked to a terminated pregnancy. Victoria, who served in Abeokuta South local government area, was said to have died last Tuesday, and the incident initially led to Olalekon's detention by the police. At the court session, the defense challenged the strength of the prosecution's case, noting that while the charge alleged an attempt to procure abortion with drugs, no specific substance was identified. The lawyer also questioned the lack of medical backing, pointing out that no nurse or healthcare professional provided a statement to support claims that any drugs were administered. Let's listen to Olalekon's counsel.
Second count before the court says attempt to procure abortion with drugs. The name of the drug not mentioned. If you are to give somebody drugs, where is the nurse? The proof given to me does not have the statement of the nurse. And all these investigations, as police claimed, they carried it out. And I told court, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. So on that basis, Section 36(5) annuls in his favor. He's still presumed to be innocent. Yes, they have 5 witnesses. Only one was present in court. And the court asked them What is the essence of 1 out of 5 in this matter? So when we get to the bridge, we'll cross it.
What will now be your prayers?
My prayers? No, that justice will prevail in this matter. That is just it. That is why we are in court, for justice to prevail. Justice is not only to the victim. I'm so sorry about that. Also to the defendant before the court.
All right, let's see what you make of this, because the conversation around safe abortion is back on this. Ogbeni Google says, Abbas, that's the Olalikon, he says, later enter this wahala, he don't define Tete. No copper, we have a good remark about him. And Banjo says, this Abbas guy, man, and they always hear in gist, even from members where don't pass out years ago. Another reaction to this is coming from the Adeola. It says, always acting like an assistant DG. We should remain in that police custody forever. Rubbish man, the almighty Kamara. It seems to be famous in that region. Uncle Lekon says, but wait, is it not a bailable offense? Did he rape her? Did he kill her? Did he force her to do the abortion? Did he spike her drink unknowingly to terminate the pregnancy? If none of this happened, then it is a bailable offense. But let's now go to Kubura, who says, we need access to safe abortions and proper health care in this country. It doesn't make sense that women are dying from badly done abortion proceedings. We are in 2026. Our lawmakers are a useless bunch, calling for laws for safe abortion right there, taking out the babies that you do not want, maybe from cases like this or something. I heard that they were in a relationship, cases of rape as well. You know, you don't want to live with the stigma forever, looking at your child and you're not able to tell them, oh, you are a fatherless baby. Safer abortion that user is advocating for. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of Kakaaki Social this morning. I am Rena Obio, everywhere on social media, and we are AIT_online. The program will continue after now. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
Football lovers, movie lovers, family entertainment fans, get ready for something big, because StarTimes is giving you Over Jara. For a limited time, when you recharge for 2 months, you get upgraded to the next bouquet free. That's more sports, more movies, more kids shows, more entertainment at no extra cost. Over Jara. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
But I don't give you better update. Say if you fail with smart cash, they don't go knock you any charges, not be church at all.
Which kind of smart card? If they no charge you, make them carry me go where I know.
No matter the transaction, smart cash no go charge you shishi. Whether na airtime or na data you buy, or you want pay for your light or na cable bill, na zero charges for smart cash. This one no be church. Work is day. Make yourself download Smart Cash app. Sharp.
TerraCube. Unwrap joy. Unleash taste.
For years, OPay has protected how the people pay. Every day, we move money to keep life going. Through our daily hustle of trying to make ends meet. through the responsibilities we carry. And when the day's done, we rest easy because we've got extra cover. And because we're confident in the security we've built, we're backing it. Introducing Extra Cover, an extra layer of assurance on your OPay account. So you can send, pay, save, and move through life with peace of mind. Backed up to 5 million naira. The People's Payment Shield, now with Extra Cover.
Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
The National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
So people put people in poverty deliberately, deliberate misplacement of priorities, and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of the former president, what I know is that he has not turned his membership card. He has not been attending your meeting.
Leave that to us to deal with.
There's no shying away from the issues.
The system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
But thank you for staying with us. And indeed, we've saved the best for last time. I mean, always. And we're talking about 2027 elections in Nigerian women. And we have joining us this morning Honorable Ginika Toh, politician and gender rights activist. She was the aspirant for the House of Representatives 2019 in the elections. And of course, Deputy Guber candidate for the 2019 elections that happened in Enugu State under the All Progressive Congress, and the chieftain, one of the former chieftain of the All Progressive Congress. It's great to have you on the show, Madam Ginika.
Happy to be here. And
great. All right, so let's start from the beginning. Of course, 2027 is all in the heat, it's all in the matter. Conventions are playing up, to be or not to be, calculations, negotiations. But maybe we'll start first for the excitement that started, of course, with the clamor of the special seats bill, and to have dedicated seats for women to run for elections. It seems to have gone a bit quiet. People seem to be a little pensive about whether it will pass or not, considering that politics has overtaken the conversation.
Well, I'm happy to be here, and you introduce yourself. Chooks. Okay. Well, regardless of it passing or not passing, you agree with me that it has already set a fundamental principle. It has formed a fundamental directive, you know, like a guide towards policies. And it's already playing out, because for my party in APC, I usually haven't been able to be a delegate, regardless of all I have done, how tenacious, assertive, impetuous, and all of that I've always been. But you see, because the APC constitution is also looking at this aspect. You remember when the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, he made mention, he emphasized the fact of women inclusion. And, he implored all parties, especially APC, to begin to add more women in NEC, where they can have a voice. So when more women inclusion. So I'm a delegate. That is because in my ward, we have someone who is more higher than I am, Tobi Okechukwu. But because a woman has to be there, I was chosen from my ward, because it's for my ward. And they're like, and
for your capacity,
a woman, yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, my capacity may have been swept under the carpet if there was no principle guiding it. So it has not come to be, but it has set a pace. And it's a welcome development, even though it's a mixed disappointment that up till now, it has not been passed, but it's far-fetched. So it's also reinforced the fact that women need to begin to come together, form coalition, look at community base, look at faith base, look at grassroots, look at voters' bloc. Because it's not a time for us to begin to look for how men will give us the space. But for us to also come together, don't see ourselves as competition, but as collaborators to create our own table Because if you are not on the table, you are in dinner or the lunch. So we must find a way to create a table for ourselves. And that is what is happening. So the fundamental principles or directives has already set the base. So it's all about women now to break the bias and break the barrier. That's where I start.
Yeah, that's a very interesting answer to that question. Now, if you look at 2027, we're in 2026. We've seen a lot of men already going out, campaigning. They've been in our faces and all at the top of their game. So what are Nigerian women, who are close to the power, close to power? What are they doing to make sure that they are also going to be in our faces, just as we're seeing men going in for 2027?
That's a good question to ask. You can recall in 2023, I came out with Omale Woko to champion the cause of the president. But because the men will always be the men to support their friends, ministerial appointment was given to a man in my state who never spoke about the president. And they moved to the extent of suspending me from the party I built more than them, suspending a woman who was able to speak about the president in a polling unit during votes where they couldn't. And they watched that happen. But as a woman, you pray too. You must not give up. You must remain resilient. I came on this same platform with Adora when she asked me that question, and I said, yes, as a woman, you keep fighting, you keep being resilient. But at the same time, you pray. And I laid a course. I said, if truly they are right and they are saying the truth, no problem. But if not, they will disgrace out of office. What is happening to the minister today? He was disgraced out of the office. And he's there. Look, he's not in PDP, so I'm still in APC. So what I tell the women that those that have been given position of authority, what is Operation 2.0 doing? They have locked the door against us. And they are not helping the president. If a person like me, Gini Kato, is saying I've not gotten a contract, and yet I'm not remembered, they didn't work the work I worked. They were not tenacious as I was. They were not assertive. They were not coming on AIT, TVC, and everywhere to speak about the president. I was. So, but yet they were given appointments. So the president can't give everybody. We are too many. Those that are there, what have they done? They closed the door. So that's why I say it's far-fetched. Because the women there, you see how the men are doing? They carry their men along. When it is time for campaign, the women are very conspicuous. We fight, we walk, we move. That time, nobody is seeing you as a threat because they're taking again from you. So the women there love to say, I am the only woman in the midst of men. Until we change that perspective, we'll continue to shout and nothing will happen. We must change it. I know friends of mine that are ministers. I know friends, but all they complain, there's no money, government, they don't give money, leave the position. No. Hello, somebody. Some are even generating funds by themselves. But none, if I can say today that no woman that I even worked with, that I pulled together to work with, that some of them, I was the one who pulled them and they are where they are, gave them visibility. And I'm saying here on national TV that I didn't get a contract since 2023 till now, when they're in position. I won't do that. So governments should know that when you are placing people, put those who carry people along. People are disgruntled just because those that are there are not doing the right thing. So that takes me to your question. Or except those women in authority, even if they are less than 5%, take the bone, take the pain to bring up women, to begin to advocate, do campaigns, do awareness, begin to increase political will amongst the women. We're not going anywhere because the men will always support the men.
Now, we talked about how you supported the president in 2023, and some will say that the president is somebody who is very loyal to people who are loyal to him. So he's always... Is it that there is a total cutoff between the president?
It's denial of fair hearing that caused my issue.
Okay.
They listened to gossip. They didn't bother to ask me any question. But they didn't listen to that gossip when I was on the streets, when no man could come out in the southeast to speak for the president. I was visible. The president knows Igbo Kwenu Fashiwaju Shetima. He cannot deny he doesn't know me.
Are you still now vocal for him going to...
I will speak because I don't approbate and reprobate. I believe in this administration. I am consistent in what I believe in, regardless of how they treat me. The reason being that when I came out first to speak for the president, there were things I saw about him, and I maintained those things I saw about him, and they are playing out. Do you understand? So I cannot come tomorrow because I have not been rewarded. The reward was not in my mindset when I stepped in to support them. It is about what Nigeria is going to become. Okay, imagine in my state, for example, where I have Governor Peter Mba, who is also working under the president, who saw what the president is doing and felt that this is like minds. And I'm in that position where he's now the leader of APC in Enugu State.
Absolutely.
And I will say, because I'm angry, I will not support the system that is doing well. Presidential Hotel was left abandoned for years. Today it's come to life. National Conference Center, the biggest even in Southeast, is in Enugu State by the same man. Now the one that makes me happy about the president and the governor is a smart school. So it means my local boy, because I can't afford it. I don't even have any appointment right now. So if I'm the one still saying this, I know what I'm saying. If smart school can come to my ward, I've said it. It's not like leap. It's not like story. Smart school in my village, it means a local child can actually know what. And I heard somebody say, what has that got to do with grassroots? So grassroots should remain with bread and rice. You don't want to teach them how to fish. We don't keep giving them fish. The world is going global. AI is here. Some of the people are graduates. They don't know how to create their own CV for them to be able to get a job. That's why they're in the village farming. Now you are taking AI at this younger age. You know, when you train the youth, when you train the children, you cultivate, leadership and global development in them. They grow with it. So that alone, appointment or no appointment, I will support Governor Peter, but I will support the president, because it never happened before. So anybody coming from anywhere to say today, if the government does not give you what you want, you will start tweeting or hitting on the government. To me, I am not that kind of person. It means the day I will come on this place to say it, I will have facts and figures why you must not vote for the president. I will have it. And if I say it, people will believe it, because they will say, this woman was not only denied appointment, she was even deprived of the one Buhari gave her, which is Federal Character Commission. Nobody asked me if I want to go back. Nobody asked me if I should replace. I was replaced at the end of my tenure. A woman who came out this much, but that does not push me. So it means my voice remains the truth. I speak for the truth. Governor Peter Mba has not given me any money. He has not rewarded me with anything, but he has done. We need him in Enugu State. And we don't want any Southeast governor from anywhere to come and impose or begin to put negative energy in Enugu State. It will be an error if the president cannot correct it.
So are you suspecting there are negative energies?
There are negative energies.
Tell us
already.
about it.
Negative. Because right now, we have, if from the neck, if you zone anything to the state, if my state is to produce a particular, and the governor, all of us, we roll within the leadership. You must respect hierarchy. If you don't respect hierarchy, you can't get there. So if the administration is watching another governor from any other state to impose or to influence my own state, maybe at this time I will take a decision. Maybe I will leave finally. Because if that can happen, then there's no hope for people like us who do not have Godfather or do not have any but God. Then we live and follow our God.
Does this also instruct, very critically, the level of inroad for people who defected to the APC? Because Governor Mba defected from the PDP into the APC. Do you consider this as some of perhaps the fallback crisis, where some people feel that, you can't just walk into the party and become the leader of your state and expect that the leadership of the South is just automatically
anybody that feels that does not love the president. The president is looking at executive power to get back, because he knows that what he has planned to do, he has not completed it. People are getting angry here and there. So, yes, anybody that feels that way, anybody that looks like Igbokwenu Fashwa, when they put my name, president, they will remove my name from my appointment. That person does not love the president. But the president allowed it. Just because he can't be everywhere. But maybe the people he has put in position are sabotage. If not, who should dare Guinea at all? So, for my state, for example, Governor Mba believed in what the president has got to offer. Mba is one very intelligent governor I've ever seen in my life. So he saw what the president... Mba, in the first place, coming to APC would have had people discouraging him. Like the time they discouraged Buruburu, the former governor of Enugu State. But because he believed in the reform system of the president, he came in. So they owe him that right. Because it's not easy to make a change. He has an executive power. Has APC ever won councillor in Enugu State? Now, we came to the fact they were going to report him that he gave APC authority a PDP, old PDP authority more than APC. My brother and my sister, Biko, if I am a governor, I will give you that you are losing election authority over those who have been winning election. Please, people like us accepted this. In my ward, I have only one representation, and I agree to it. Because the PDP, they've been the one winning in my ward. They've been one winning for governor in my ward. So if I believe in what the governor has to bring in, I will have to. So if somebody like me can say, I don't mind, one person is fine. The people coming in, let's work together.
Yeah.
They shouldn't say, you are just coming in. When the person had not come in, what did you achieve? Uche Nnaji came forth in Enugu, Guba. Is that the kind of person we are looking at? In all the fight and all of that, governor number one. And for me, the greatest thing I want to happen in this life, I don't even want reward or no reward, is for the governor to return. Because what he's doing...
So you're thinking that another governor could impose his decision in order for him not to return?
Man, the politics are now. There's so much mochi.
Let's for me, which is, women. Just buttressing what you're saying, the governor of Enugu State was the first governor in the southeast to endorse the reserve seats for women's bill, and also positioned his SSG to speak keenly on the matter during the public hearing that happened in Imo State at the time. So I sort of get the inroad you're talking about in that atmosphere. But let's come back to the political inroad structuring. You have been very vociferous, very intentional in speaking for the APC, and not just the president, the party as a whole. Yesterday, I had the privilege to be at a forum coordinated by the NCWS, Princess Edna Azura, and some leading women in political party structures, including, the mandate secretary. And one of the conversations that, was previewed was the fact that in between the political structuring, there are even issues of internal wrangling between the women within the parties themselves, whether it is APC or whichever party. And someone said something that was very funny, Chooks. He said, within the women's group, there are the people they call the Sambalat and the Tobiah, according to Nehemiah. She used those words, and it cost me to do a research, and I figured what she was trying to say is that there are people who are trying to build, while others are trying to pull them down. Yeah. How do we look at that? Because to advance grassroots politics, where women's voices are mass, how do you hope to look at that issue? You are a grassrooter, and you also a voice at the grassroots. How do we look at women's voices towards the 2027 for your party? What are their takes on this administration, honestly? And how do you hope to reinvent the wheel?
Well, like you said, the governor, if you look at even his administration, you'll see a lot of women inclusion. And like you said, he has come out to say women inclusivity is important. Now, women, the onus is on us to take the bull by the horn. Like I said, if you're not given a table to sit, you are the lunch or dinner, you create your own table and make them the lunch and dinner. So we need to begin to amass full collaborations. Women collaborations, women voters collaborations. Now there's voters registration going on. Women should come together and ensure that more women are doing their registrations to have more voice. Women need to go to the grassroots. Women need to come down from the high horse. Those women in authority that already has got money, not people like us who Kuma is our hard end we are using to travel here and there. Those women should come, call women together and send them down to the grassroots to begin to speak. And let's always also decide who we should follow, who is doing the right thing. If you see a governor that is gender sensitive, if you find a governor that is gender sensitive, you must, as women, come together, create forums, create initiatives. I'm the National Director of Women Affairs in the Sheyi Tinubu Youth Mandate. And this Sheyi Tinubu Youth Mandate, when Sheyi spoke, he said something. He said, I'm interested in the women. You see, they are now beginning to divert their attention to women. Because women are those who, once they come out for you, they stand firm. They're not easily bought over. They're not easily swayed. You can see what is happening. I listened to one interview, Boala's interview, where, I don't know the name of the man that was interviewing him, and he was looking at it. He was bringing the old story, and he kept denying it. You will find less women in that category. When we say, we mean, we do. We don't talk, we do. So women have to now come together to begin to champion voters' campaign, to begin to champion awareness, political will, build it in them. Women need to be godmothers. Every time I keep hearing godfathers. Can't we have godmothers? Because those who are supposed to be our godmothers see you as threats. Like me, I cannot change my style. With appointment, without appointment, I have aura. Okay. It's either you love me to work with you, or you just hate me. Okay. You know, and that applies to so many women.
But
so we must break the bias to be able to break the barrier.
Absolutely. Okay. We'll come back to this conversation in a moment, but let's quickly take a break, and then we'll be right back.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
People, politics, and power brings context and clarity to issues and events in governance, democracy, and development. On People, Politics, and Power, we feature people who shape the events and define the issues.
A lot of the agencies are still struggling with implementation of freedom of information.
The government should come. We need Nigeria to work.
We examine the interplay and interaction of politics with power and their impact on policies and the people.
It's about getting the system to deliver the kind of electoral outcome that people will be happy with.
People, Politics, and Power with Imoni Amarere.
The low-performing agencies be held to account, or will the numbers fade after the headlines?
At 1 p.m. every Monday and Friday on AIT.
All right, thank you for staying with us. And if you're just joining us, we're just talking about the 2027 elections and the Nigerian women, the way forward. And we do have our guests, Honorable Ginika Tor, politician, gender rights activist, and, of course, a major APC chieftain in the All Progressive Congress Party. Now, you were talking about inclusion at the state level, talking about having more women, agency, build momentum at the state level, have more women voices to be mobilized. Now, you know that currently we do have at least up to 15 states in Nigeria at the state assembly level that do not have any women in them. Fortunately, even though the numbers are very slim, we just have about 2 in the state assembly in Enugu State. Is it also something, I mean, you spoke about the generic, increase and improvement of the policy direction of special seats. And even though if it's not passed or not, it's going to increase, yes, monumental strides. Do you think that would also influence, the politics at the state level for more women to come out in mass to run? And for those who are already there to perhaps be re-elected or given, like someone said, automatic ticket. I do know that your Deputy Chief Whip, Honorable Obiajulu Ogu, is a female and doing quite well. But do you think it's enough? Shouldn't the women show interest from now, especially at the convention?
Well, it's not enough, and we are calling out, at this point, for more women inclusion in the State Assembly. Yeah, like I said, I'll be speaking from the angle of my governor because I've seen it in him. This is a dicey period for him when people that are already there feel they already have the crowd to make sure he returns the second time and all of that. So it's a challenging moment, And most times people always believe politics is a life of thuggery, uncertainty, all kind of malicious acts, bad manners, and all of that. And women, you know, we're not really into thuggery. So if you are coming to my ward and you want to pick someone for my state constituency, and then is a woman, like I have a woman in my state constituency, if that woman want to come back, it's okay. If that woman has to be replaced, I think it's either it becomes a woman again, but you see a situation where the same people from that constituency will say it's not only women that we should be producing from our constituency. We should also bring it from somewhere else. So that's why I always tell people, if you say the governor is your leader, follow the lead. So it's the mind of the governor who speak to, because it's the food of the governor to be able to, you know, produce whoever. So like I said, the special seat may not have been passed, but it has set a precedent. It has set a fundamental principle. It may not be enforceable, but it's a guiding light, you know, that forms policy, that forms decisions, that forms even decisions of the governors. Now, women, if we start speaking and speaking this way, the governors will not be like intimidated or whatever, but will be encouraged, will be propelled. I always tell the women, we are the neck. And when you turn your neck, the head follows. The men are the head, fine. The women are the neck. But it's where we turn the neck that the head goes to. But when you try turning the neck in a very hard way, you crack your neck. So it's about dialogue, it's about discussion, it's about women standing in their voices. It's about giving us women leaders who are passionate about women advocacy. Because most women leaders we have, it's all about themselves. If no woman leader had come to speak about Guinea Cattle, then we are not yet having a national woman leader who speaks.
So it's profiling the good ones. Okay.
So apart from, you know, women leaders and women in power now, you're somebody who I'm sure has a lot of following in terms of women following you. Is there an agenda for that woman that's following you on 2027? Okay, this is the candidate we're going to vote for because that candidate has an ideology that aligns with what we, the women, want. So is there like an understanding amongst women that, okay, in 2027, we're going to align with candidates, especially when it comes to the men? Because if these men are there without ideologies that allows women to thrive, it won't happen because they'll be blocking it. So is there an ideology and understanding on that?
Yeah, there is. The inability of passing the bill or special seat has reinforced something within the women. Okay. Do you understand? Women now are now aligning to have their own voice. Even in a situation where they need to support a man, they will support a gender-sensitive man. Okay. A man who is women inclusive. So it's not like they are only going to be, the agenda is going to be about women coming on board. It's also, the agenda also is going to be about men that are already on board championing the cause of women, the he for she's. So that's, like, for me, my women already know they follow. You know, in 2023, I brought out and I paid for a lady who was my PA, who contested for House of Assembly. Okay. The Uchennaji and system fought us. We won the first time. They had the delegates, they had the INEC, but I had the goodwill. We won them the first time, 25 delegates, it was 14/11. They insisted they would go back, and they were bringing a man. And we went back on, and the people decided to line up, not to even vote by secret. And we counted 9/16. We took 2 more from them. That is what women should be doing for women. She's my PA. She's still my PA. And she's, you know, we just need to support ourselves. And she became the only female candidate the APC had in Enugu State for House of Assembly. Yeah, it was in our party, so everybody lost. At a point, they asked me to denounce the president, and they will give my girl that seat. I said I will not denounce the president, because the president is on a larger scale of helping the world, of helping Nigeria. But my girl, she will fight to the end. I didn't collect money, she didn't collect money, no settlements. We fought to the end with the PDP. But the lady still was in PDP who won, and it was okay. But at least record has it that we fought to the end. We were not settled. You know, that's what women, I didn't sell her out, she didn't sell me out. Jennifer Ndubisi, honorable today. And when the governor gave opportunity for a woman to be in the e-registration, he gave me that slot again. And I nominated her. And she became the Enugu West e-registration coordinator. She became even bigger than she was. So how many women could come on the national TV to say, this is my mentee that is even a leader? At that time, I was following her like a leader. Because as registration madam in my zone, she was my leader. And if I go to anywhere and I see that trying to undermine her, I bring her out and I fight. I fight. People can call it name. Oh, maybe they are this, they are that. Because they don't believe a woman can actually champion the cause of women. So if we have more women doing that, we'll get better. And men will take us for who we are. But because the men sees that all we do is fight against each other, they leverage on that and fight against us. One of my sister, Mary Koko, called me one day and said, Ginika, you are not on the convention list. Why? I said, my governor sent my name. I don't know why they didn't put me. It has always been so. In the whole list I've ever come in this world in APC, my name will always come later. So that list is not yet ready. And then she went to the APC headquarters. That's a woman. It's good to say people, when they do things, say it. That's Mary Koko. She went there and said, women are not well included, though. Does she have that voice? She has a voice, but she has to fight because she doesn't have a position. Even after all the work she also did. She went there. So my governor has sent my name. They neglected it. But I didn't want to report to my governor because I wouldn't want to give my governor too much stress. But the woman also went, and they looked at the list. The name is there. So why are you not putting... So if she can do that, I can do that. Adora does it too. Let's have more women with such mind. But you see, one thing I understand about government in general, they want those people who don't carry women along. They'll put them in position of authority.
So to just continue the patriarchal system.
Do you understand? They're intentionally doing that. So the way I've come out here to speak, they won't want to take me. But they will say this one, if you put that, is women will be here. But do they not know that women add colors to whatever we do?
Absolutely.
What if we begin to campaign against the government to say, women, after the campaign, where do they put you? You take Ginika story as a storyline, as a study case. Were you not there when she came out? When the men
so just before time is because I can hear them rounding us up. In your view, what issues will most influence women's voting decision in 2027? And I'm asking this because you've talked about negotiations. Even though many women may not emerge as maybe governors or, perhaps ministers, I hopefully think that should happen. Can the negotiation start now?
It should start
to be able to say, this is what we bring as a currency of numbers. This is what we demand. So that as you get into the space, you already know that you're going there with a demand, a high-stake demand. Do you think women are perhaps literate enough to negotiate forward?
They are. They are. Once beaten, twice shy. Are they not tired? Women are ready. Women are resolute now. What I'm saying here is also speaking into their minds. Women that are there is an embarrassment that you are just 5% when we had more than 15% or 10% before. So we are reducing. So they should rise. They should not see each other as competition. So women are coming together, especially for this special seat. I see so many women coming out to contest because they thought it was going to fly. And finally, it's not flying. And then women
it's not flown yet.
It's not flying yet, but it will fly. But they thought by now it should have. So that's why I said it's a mixed disappointment. So women, it is time to reinforce our system, to begin to ask for what we want and what we need. It's very important to begin to see each other as collaborators, and we have to deal with bias. I know I keep saying this. If you know this woman has got the technical know-how to get women involved, get her in position. As a woman, fight for a woman to come in. Don't always feel proud to be the best among the men or the one in the midst of 100 men. It's an embarrassment. We were taking picture yesterday during the work we did under the sanitation committee of the convention. And I came and said, I told men, I said, you are taking this picture, no woman. It's gender imbalance. And I brought and Oyambo and some people. So we should have more women speaking in that regard. And we'll get there. And I want to leave this message for Nigerians. I know we are all disgruntled somehow. Not all. We are getting to a space where we'll be happy. We are in the hospital. Nigeria has been sick. The president has taken us to the hospital. When you are given injection, you don't smile. But after the injection comes freedom. So we are getting to that stage of freedom. Don't be discouraged. This is still the best that we can get. Remember, when Buhari was there, he was not good. When he was there, he became your best man. If Asiwaju leaves now, he becomes your best man. So Nigeria should be better in decision now. And let us get the government back in order and back in the system. And we can be rest assured that women this time, if they don't include us, we include ourselves by force.
Well, I'd like to hear your symbolic parable in Nuedos, you know, that speak to the hospitals and patients. Thank you so much. And just to mention that across Nigeria today, in the 36 states, Nigerian women will be marching to their state assembly constituencies to deliver a petition to say we need the reserved seats for women's bill. Every constituency, every state assembly will have a commensurate number of women marching to their offices, and I guess this is the last plot. However, the call is now to the 10th parliament. You've listened to her to say it is not going to fly or it may not fly. The ball is in your court. We understand the political alliances you must create, but most importantly is that inclusion makes democracy work. And perhaps